Yes, guys, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. It's your boys, David and Jack. Vicario, here we go. Via Fabrizio Romano, due in London to sign his contract at Tottenham Hotspur in the next few hours. Jacko, how are you, my man? Second summer signing in the door.
Second summer signing in the door, and this time around it's not a Spurs player re-signing. I guess it's actually a guy coming from a different club, and it is going to be Hugo's replacement. I've been looking forward to Hugo's replacement for some time this season. I thought it actually was going to be David Raya at some stage. We did really sort of think there was going to be some sort of conclusion to it, that maybe Spurs and Brentford were going to reach some type of agreement. But I guess Daniel Levy, sort of almost Succession style, Logan Roy style, has decided to pull out of the negotiations and has gone elsewhere and has gone to his option B. And his option B is Guglielmo Vicario. And I, be honest, Dave, didn't know too much about him before he's been linked with us, but we've done as much research as we can in the time that he has been linked with us, and it's been moving really, really quickly. And we'll talk about this a bit later, but what's really interesting is that sort of David Raya was the one that we were sort of kind of, being alluded to, or kind of being linked to the most, and this Vicario guy all of a sudden just signs for Spurs in like the span of like, what is it, 12 hours or like 24 hours practically. So it does show that maybe things can be the case in journalism or just in the media, that that kind of make it look like you should be looking one place, but in fact you should be looking another. I think with Spurs, because they seem to be kind of pulling tricks or using multiple hats right now, with all the different people that they're linked with. And we'll talk about it later, Dave, but maybe a certain Paratici is still, advising Spurs, because he's definitely tricked us. He tricked me with the David Raya sort of links. And I'm excited about Vicario and the fact that he is actually maybe an unknown. I do like the sort of unknown transfers. He is quite cheap as well, by the looks of things. I mean, much cheaper than David Raya was going to be. And if he ends up being, a real, let's say, star in the Premier League, it could be one of those transfers that, sort of Spurs fans get excited about when it comes to good business and good recruitment. The good signs about it are the fact that such good clubs have been linked with him. You saw Inter Milan, of course, were actually kind of lining up to maybe go after him in case Andre Onana were to leave this season. And he's obviously been a fantastic goalkeeper for them, and they were able to secure him. So if they, figured that Vicario was sort of the replacement for Andre Onana, that does maybe show that he is well regarded in the Serie A. And of course, though, as well, he's only been kind of, in and around, or been kind of on people's radar for only like a season or two. So it's also a guy that is a bit of a gamble, that is in the fact that, he's only really been, playing at this sort of top-notch level for only so long. But I'm excited, Dave. I like the unknown sort of transfers, and I do like a deal as well.
Oh, 100%. Look, we're going to get more into it. You can get my thoughts in just a moment. But look, please engage with us. Let us know what your thoughts are on the signing of Vicario. Let us know whether you agree with us, disagree with us as we go along. We'll also bring you other transfer news today as well. But guys, make sure you get in the chat and give us your opinions. But if you want to really make it stand out, hammer it home, make sure we understand your opinion, feel free to send it via Super Chat. It's a great way to support everything we do on this channel. And why not grab one of them memberships? Help yourself to a channel membership. $4.99 for a fan show per month, or $1.99 per month, which is a small fee, smaller than your Netflix and everything else, and really helps out your favorite content creators. We have a super chat here from Dermo, and then we will get straight into it. He says, big up, guys. Number one in the door, more to come. Feeling very excited now. Come on, you Spurs. Woo! Come on, you Irish Army. Come on, you Flat Cap Army. Come on, you Spurs. It's the second signing in the door, Darryl. We got Kulu in already, my man. Don't forget about that. But I get what you mean. It's sort of first proper signing. We were expecting Kulu to happen anyway. And look, it's a long outstanding issue at the football club, especially last season. Conceded 63 goals across the course of the Premier League. And that's not only on the back line, but Hugo Lloris also had a massive part to play in it as well. So, look, it's a position that we needed to get done. I'm glad we got it done early. It took us a while to get here. Also, what does it mean for the David Raya deal? Could Spurs potentially bring in two keepers? We'll get on to my thoughts on that in a little while. And the fact that it has Paratici written all over it from start to finish. I'm not bigging it up or anything like that, but it's clear to see that we are still using some of Paratici's methods. Does that concern people out there? Please do let us know. But big up, Dermatron. Really appreciate the support, brother. Really do appreciate it. And guys, follow Dermo's lead. We don't have any big wigs behind us. No one supporting us like that or anything like that. We literally rely on you guys out there. But Jacko, let's get into it, my man. Let's bring up the graphic they all want to see.
Dave, it's kind of big news because right now in Brooklyn, I hear about 4 different sirens happening in all different directions right now. So it is definitely the here we go for Guglielmo Vicario. And I think my pronunciation is okay, but I hope it improves by the more, we start seeing more of him. And maybe when we get that interview with him, I'm looking forward to, improving this pronunciation of him, Dave. The news has come from Fabrizio Romano, and I believe it came actually via Instagram first, and that's when sort of kind of Spurs Express pounced on it, and they're saying that Guglielmo Vicario to Tottenham, here we go, agreement completed after official bids sent for the Italian goalkeeper to join Spurs on the 19 million euro deal. Vicario will be in London in the next few hours to sign the contract till 2026. It's not really a massive contract. It's you could say a 3-year contract, if I'm not mistaken, that would be. So it's not like they've just given him, a big fat 5-year contract, with 100 grand or anything on it. He still clearly has to prove himself, and he is a bit of an unknown. But like I mentioned sort of before, Dave, he's kind of been really highly regarded this last season or two over in the Serie A, and he's sort of maybe making a name for himself at the age of sort of 26 now. I'm not even sure if that's really a late bloomer. I think a lot of sort of goalkeepers do start to kind of become, a bit more rounded out by that age. So I think he's on the right track. It's not like all of them are, superstars at 23. I think that would be a bit unfair to that sort of position. But what do you think, Dave? The fact that he's been linked with such, big clubs like Inter Milan, I believe even it was like, I think it was even Bayern Munich at one stage too. Bayern Munich were thinking about bringing him in instead of Jan Sommer in January. They actually were very close to bringing in a Vicario over the winter instead of Jan Sommer. So what do you make of this, Dave?
Yeah, look, Jack, I wrote down a lot in my notes because I had a lot of thoughts on it. So just hear me out on this. Look, first of all, I'm actually not going to sit here and pretend I know, I know of this guy. I know a lot about this guy. I'm like everyone else. I started doing my research last night when the links came out. So, but, I have done a lot of research into him, Jack. And look, for me, I think he's very similar to Ray in terms of distribution, which is important to us Tottenham fans and also very important to Ange Postecoglou and his system and his style of play, that he's good on the ball and he can move it quickly. Yeah. Some would say maybe Ray is a little bit better, but I think, look, similar if you ask me. I think the fact that with Ange Postecoglou likes playing that high line, he also needs a keeper that's not afraid to come off his line, Jack. That's not afraid to sweep up behind that back line. Something that Hugo Lloris just didn't offer Tottenham Hotspur, often found rooted to the spot. Whereas this guy will come up and sweep up behind, but also, the timing of it seems to be spot on. But also, he'll come out and close down the angle of shot, something that Hugo Lloris didn't want to do either. As I spoke about, very much rooted to his line. Another thing, Jack, is that, look, I do like the fact that he comes out to help deal with crosses and set pieces and stuff like that. Something, again, that I aimed at Hugo Lloris because I felt with us being early weak, and it's something that's been exploited since the Jose days, especially some of the corners in and around the 6-yard box, maybe just outside of that. I felt Hugo Lloris could have came out and helped us at times, and he did not. He refused to. I do like the fact that this guy comes off the line. However, Jack, one thing that I do not like about him is that he punches the ball all the time. He never wants to catch the ball. So in essence, unless we have players, or what you're going to see in the Premier League, especially with smart managers, right, from set pieces, and it's something Southampton, I think, done to us earlier in the first game of this season, actually, where Ward-Prowse sat on the edge of the box from a ball that was swung in, and he ended up driving in from the edge of the box. So I do think if with his punches out, that you are going to see teams, especially from set pieces, push up and set players up around the box to pick up that breaking ball and just lump it in again or have a go again. So that is something that does concern me in that regard, Jack.
Could I take a quick comment from Rudy Toot that would just validate what you're saying, or at least Rudy Toot, Dave, is sort of agreeing with you here, and I think in some way. He's saying, worried that he doesn't seem to catch the ball. He bats it back out into the danger zone or puts it out for a corner, and sorted Joe Hart out, though, so Vicario should be beyond him. And I think that's a good point, is that, yes, maybe he has some worries, maybe some parts that he might give some people a bit of sort of question marks, but at the same time, Ange Postecoglou sort of made Joe Hart look brilliant in the likes of Celtic. So, and he really did look terrible for us. So it is something where maybe Ange Postecoglou is actually getting the type of keeper that he needs, in the fact that he's so good in possession. But yeah, Dave, continue. I'm just saying.
No, there's just a couple of other things, Jack, as well. Is sometimes I see when he does make a save, sometimes he parries it into danger. Again, something that Hugo Lloris used to do an awful lot, that used to drive us mad. Maybe something to watch out for. I think everyone's seen that highlight reel of the 3 saves against Roma. But I'd argue if he parried the first one out where it was supposed to go, he wouldn't have had to have made the other 2. And then also I've seen the highlight reel of every goal he conceded. And this is where I think we probably should have went for Raya, Jack, is the shot stopping. Like, don't get me wrong. I get that highlight reels, you can sort of portray what you want in them, right? You can portray a player to look good, or you can portray a player to look bad. However, what some of the goals that went by him, if Hugo Lloris was to concede them, I would go absolutely mad. But look, Jack, you know, like I said before with David Raya, the fact that there was no negotiations whatsoever between both sides, I felt they were about 20 million apart. I thought they were at 20 million, they were at 40 million, and not one of them would budge. And it does seem like that. And when it comes to Paratici, Jack, this has him written all over it, because the fact that we had agreed personal terms with someone like David Raya, right, and also Vicario, when Paratici was here, and he's well known for it, that he negotiates for, sometimes it was put out up to 10 players in a certain position, and then he will take what the best deal is on offer. And it does look like that this is something, since he's been gone, that this is going to continue. You even look at the centre back options. How many have we been linked with? And it does look like they are adopting Paratici's style to get the players in. But look, I'm struggling with this one, Jack. I don't know whether it's Ange Postecoglou's choice, because as we know, scout Gabbiadini, he's been in contact with Levy, Munn and Postecoglou since last month over transfer targets, or whether this is just what we always accuse of the club, second-rate option, the cheaper option.
Yeah. Gabbiadini, I think, is maybe sort of acting as a liaison probably in some way between Paratici and the club right now. I think Paratici is working behind the scenes in some manner. And also as well, the fact that this was a guy that I guess was, on, I guess, Spurs' radar since Paratici had come in here is sort of a good sign that maybe Spurs in some manner do still trust Paratici, or at least still confiding in him on some sort of matters when it comes to recruitment. It could be a Postecoglou signing. It might not be. But at the same time, we've been told that Postecoglou wants a guy that's good with the ball at his feet and is comfortable under pressure. I haven't seen as many clips as I would like of him under pressure, but if you do actually just take a look at his stats, and I did do that in the scout report, so if you do want maybe a more in-depth sort of analysis on the numbers and everything, do check that out. But I do feel like an important thing to mention with him is that he's playing actually some of the most passes in Europe, Dave, for pretty much a lower mid-table Serie A side. Like, you would think a lower mid-table Serie A side, usually they're very defensive. This Empoli side, in fact, in particular, is a very defensive side. So usually most managers wouldn't exactly give their keeper too many opportunities to sort of play out from the back, or they wouldn't even give them too many back passes to sort of mess about, because, right, that can lead to risk, that can lead to mistakes. But I guess Vicario, they trust him, and I guess they respect his ability with the ball at his feet, which makes me think that he is somebody that Ange Postecoglou, even if he's not somebody he's totally aware of, will actually like and enjoy, because he needs somebody that can be comfortable with those back passes, can be comfortable with the ball under pressure. And also maybe in his case too, what makes him slightly different to David Raya is that he doesn't exactly go for as many long passes or as many launch passes as David Raya. It seems like the majority of the passes he plays seem to be like a short to medium type range, which maybe makes me think that he's quite comfortable, with sort of like just dinking it over a player, kind of just keeping it on the floor if need be to, keeping it on the carpet. So I'm excited about Vicario and the fact that I think he's a bit different to maybe David Raya in a few different ways. The fact that he's a bit taller, a bit more athletic, I think, as well. He's also very brave. I mean, Dave, some of the shot stopping that I think you've seen him, he just sort of like just goes right after a guy and kind of makes himself big as possible as well, right?
Uses his whole body.
He uses his whole frame, his whole body, saves with his feet, things that I wouldn't exactly associate right away with maybe David Raya. So I do find it like, an interesting choice. And also, I did mention this last time we spoke about David Raya. I feel like David Raya is a great keeper. I really like him. I really rate him, but I didn't think he was worth the 40 million pounds. And I would actually have liked that Spurs, go after an option B that was cheaper. If they think that option B is basically just as good, if not better, this could be the case with Vicario.
So much to dissect there, Jack, and I'll come back to that in just a moment. But we do have SPURS. I presume all the way in from Sweden. Sweden must be a big fan of Kulusevski, just like we are. He says, stop looking at other teams and what they do and don't. Let's find our own way to success. You don't have to love Levy, at least back the manager. And look, I don't want anyone to get this misconstrued. We do back the managers over here. We do. For me, I'll always back a manager until I feel that they've got everything that they need to do their job properly. So that's no problem over here. We'll always back the manager. And look, I'm not actually knocking the signing, right? I'm not knocking the signing because for me, I'm actually going to reserve judgment until I see him in the sticks for Tottenham. Because, like I said, I'm not an expert on this guy whatsoever. However, from the research I've done, I do feel like it is important to highlight the weaknesses and highlight what his strengths are. And that does not mean that we're not going to sign him, because we're not. Look, at the end of the day, Tottenham and Brentford, none of them were going to budge. None of them. There were at least probably about 15, 20 million away in valuation. None of them were going to budge, either or. And Tottenham could not let it rumble on for much longer. They already, had history with this with Brentford when it came to Ollie Watkins. And look how that turned out. He ended up going to Aston Villa because they paid the money. And Spurs did need to get their keeper. Now, I will get into it. Apparently, this guy was on the shortlist. So I questioned, was he? Because we never heard his name really mentioned before that. However, like I said, I'm personally going to reserve judgment on the actual signing until I see him in the sticks. But, a lot of people, and this is something that Shawnee said yesterday, and, I've also said it at times myself, that a lot of people, they say, oh, we want our scouting department to go and find gems like Brighton, like Brentford do, etc., etc. But then when we do that, true analytical data, etc., then it's all of them put down as a cheap signing, this, that, and the other. And it's sort of like, this is the problem at Tottenham. We've got to stop knocking these guys before they even come here. You have to give them an opportunity, and it's that simple. I get it very well could end up being a cheap signing. I get it. But from what people, from what I would say, Italian pundits, Italian people that do podcasts or watch Italian football, this, that, and the other, they all have a lot of high praise for this guy. And just because it's not a name that we immediately know off the bat, it doesn't mean we should put it down. And let's be real. We aren't getting them big, massive names that we want in here. As much as I want them to come in, and as much as I think a club like Tottenham should have them sort of players at this football club, it's just not going to happen under this current ownership. It's just not. And that's it.
Spot on, Dave. And SPURS, I'm with you in the fact that we need to just sort of find our own way to success. But I also find it a bit kind of crazy that we can't take some sort of pages out of other teams' book. And I think the teams that we can maybe take a page out of are sort of the Brightons and the Brentfords, especially if we are going to be more of a budget sort of base team. We need to think maybe on their lines, as well as also look at other clubs who have really top-notch recruitment and sort of take a page out of their group as well. And it feels like, there's nothing wrong with sort of going about the sort of analytical approach, this data approach that Spurs seem to be going down. And if they felt like David Raya was way too much for the money, I kind of supported it, and I'll stand by that. I don't feel like David Raya was worth the 40 million pounds. And if Vicario ends up being just as good, if not better, I'm absolutely before that. And then we'll all of a sudden be getting praised for that type of business. And it's just sort of how the game works. And I'm excited to see that Spurs also as well, though, at the end of the day, SPURS, we move very quickly on the goalkeeper position. It's not like we've been waiting, months and months and months. We just eventually just got it done, decide to go for the option B, if it even was the option B, and just get Ange Postecoglou a goalkeeper as soon as possible. And I'm happy with that as well.
Chad, just back to what you were saying about, him playing with his feet and all. I'm just going to read out a little bit of what Ali Gold had to say on him today. He says, he earns a lot of plaudits across Italy thanks to his rapid development in the past 2 seasons after helping them promote Empoli up the Serie A table with his ability in goal. First on loan from Cagliari before joining permanently last summer, Inter, Juventus, Napoli, United, and Brighton have all been credited with an interest in Vicario. And the view in Italy is that Vicario was second only to Inter's Andrea Nana in Serie A with his performances last season and has become the second best Italian stopper behind PSG's Donnarumma. When it comes to fitting into Postecoglou's system, Football London understands that Vicario has been working a lot on his ability with his feet in recent years, leading to a marked improvement. And the feeling with the Italian is that while his entire game has improved rapidly, he has a high ceiling, which means he can continue to get better. So, Ali Gold is talking about how many clubs were actually interested. Interesting that he put Brighton in there, right? We all say we want to act like Brighton, and then all of a sudden that Brighton were sort of interested in this guy, but also interesting that he talks about, the marked improvement to be a modern day goalkeeper with his feet. Now, look, obviously it's important that you combine that with the shot stopping, but look, if we're being brutally honest with this, Jack, I do feel like this signing is a bit of a gamble compared to someone like David Raya, which I'll get onto in a little while, because as alluded to, he's only really had 2 seasons in Serie A, with Empoli, and that's it really, and then a little stint in Serie B. So it is a big risk for a guy that has only really got 2 proper seasons behind him. But also, I want to go on to more of what Ali Gold has said in his article. He says that Spurs narrowed down their search with a shortlist that included the likes of Brentford's David Raya, Valencia's Mamardashvili, and Vicario. Now, like I said, if Vicario was on the shortlist, I do question why we've not heard his name being mentioned up until now. Could it be that so many other clubs were actually interested? We wanted to keep the deal under the radar. I'm not so sure. Let's wait and see. But he says, and on that, I also wonder, Jack, have we adopted Paratici's transfer strategies of getting a list together, approaching all them targets, sometimes negotiating for as many as 10 potential targets for a single open position before deciding one at the end of the previous deciding on one at the end of the process. So it has Paratici's hallmark written all over it, the way this is unfolded from the David Raya to Vicario. Interesting there. And then Ali Gold also went on to say that he understands that Paratici had been an admirer of Vicario, along with chief scout Gabbanini, and Paratici made inquiries about the goalkeeper's availability earlier this year. And then he also goes on to say chief scout Leonardo Gabbanini has been in constant daily dialogue with Spurs chairman Daniel Levy since Paratici's resignation in April. It was Gabbanini who met Postecoglou earlier this month to discuss transfers at the club's Hotspur Way training complex in Enfield, with others such as Daniel Levy in attendance. So maybe is Ali Gold alluding to that maybe this is Postecoglou written all over it? I know the Italian football podcast, as far back as April, said he's the best keeper in Serie A, expecting him to go to a giant club, but I don't think they're expecting it to be for 20 million. So there is a lot of praise for this guy out there, Jack, for someone that's relatively unknown. But also, I think what maybe could concern people, Jack, is that, again, it's a Paratici sort of sign that still has his imprint on it.
Yeah, I feel like it has some type of Paratici imprint, but I think it also has maybe Postecoglou's sort of influence still in there, because if it were, let's say, a keeper that, let's say, wasn't very good with his feet, and let's say didn't have any sort of maybe stats to back it up that he was comfortable in that department, I think that would suggest maybe it was maybe more of a club signing. But for me, I feel like Postecoglou is going to be actually quite excited in that. And I think you have maybe a spot on theory in the case that perhaps Spurs were sort of keeping this under the radar, knowing that he was being linked with such big clubs. And also, if I'm not mistaken, doing a little bit of research, he's actually an Inter Milan sort of fan, or he grew up as sort of an Inter Milan fan. And with the Andre Onana sort of links, moved away, that could mean then he was very keen, perhaps, if Andre Onana were to have left this summer, he would have been very keen on getting that deal to go over to Inter Milan, because they had been sort of courting him just in case Onana were to leave. And like you said, yes, maybe he's been a bit under the radar. Yes, he's not very well known. But you sort of also brought up, rightfully so, that Spurs at this moment in time, we're not really going to be getting the best keepers in the world at this stage in time. We're not going to be attracting, I think, Mike Maignan. We're not going to be going after the best of the best. And we might have to come to terms with the fact that we are going to go after that approach of maybe finding or sort of unearthing a diamond in the rough, or sort of a diamond that no one has, discovered yet. And I think Vicario, to Serie A experts, at least from what I can tell, has definitely been one of sort of the players of the season, one of the big goalkeepers that a lot of people have definitely pointed out as kind of, one of the best goalkeepers of this last season. But then again, he's not like he's been doing this season by season on a regular basis where majority of people around Europe would know about him. It's sort of like, it's even probably less known than even the Romero time, right? Romero was at Atalanta, won Serie A Defender of the Year, but it felt like even Romero was sort of maybe on people's radar for like a year longer than Vicario was. So that's what I would sort of slightly connect it to, was like maybe like the Romero transfer, where it's like he's off the back of a really good season, maybe a season where he's sort of one of the best players in his position, but also it's not like he's been doing it season in, season out. And there is a bit of that risk there. But at the same time, when you are seeing other clubs linked to him in that sort of manner, I think you do have to back it that he is, of course, a very talented one. And again, what I've been asking for years is a guy that's good with his feet. And Vicario seems to be very good with his feet. And that's what I've been wanting, Dave.
And it does look like, from all intents and purposes, from what Ali Gold is saying, that this guy has actually been very well scouted by Tottenham. That Gabbiani, whatever you want to call him.
Gabbiani,
Gabbiadini, he uses, he's big on analytical data and all that sort of stuff as well. So this does seem like, according to Ali Gold, one that Tottenham have actually been tracking, and he's actually been well scouted. However, it's not a good look for the club to be in, agree personal terms with Raya and Vicario. Do I think Tottenham will bring Bo in? I don't think so. I think that'll be an end of the goalkeeper situation for the summer. And then when Fraser Forster's contract is up at the end of next year, we'll probably go and look at maybe bringing in a second choice keeper, if not promoting a Brandon Austin or Whiteman or Josh Keeley. But look, Jack, I do think this one is a gamble, if you want me to be brutally honest. And the reason why I say that is because he is a relatively sort of unknown up until maybe exactly last season, when he had his real breakout season. And David Raya does have more sort of experience, especially in English football as well. So the fact that David Raya has more experience, and plus, I just have more of a bite-sized sample to go off with David Raya than Vicario. So when it comes to that, for me, I would rather someone like David Raya. However, like I said, I am not going to judge this signing until I see him between the sticks, because I do think at Tottenham we are too quick to rush to judge signings, and it's not always in our best interest to do that. So because I don't have that much of a bite-sized sample to go off compared to Raya, I do find it a little bit disappointing. However, like I said, I will reserve judgment, but it is good to see that we are addressing a problem area, and we are bringing in a player that can play with his feet, that will suit the manager's system. I think that's a big plus to take away from it. And one more thing to consider as well is, another reason why I think this one is a slight bit dicey is because the last goalkeeper that Paratici identified in Galini didn't exactly work out well. And when he was given his opportunity, he was atrocious between the sticks. I remember him coming out against, was it Chelsea in a cup semi-final, misjudging the fight of a corner. The exact same against Morecambe in the FA Cup as well. So Paratici doesn't have a great track record at Tottenham of bringing in goalkeepers. So it's interesting to see that Tottenham have still trusted him and Gabbiadini's methods and still gone with it. I don't understand why we haven't broke away from Paratici's methods if they got rid of him. I know that Daniel Levy was a huge fan of him. However, it does have Paratici still written all over this. But Jack, is he a replacement on Hugo Lloris? According to your scout report, what do you think?
I think my verdict is yes. I think he is an adequate replacement for the likes of Hugo Lloris. I feel like he will bring a lot of the things that we've been missing. Part of what we've been missing is a guy that is comfortable being able to handle a back pass and being able to pick out somebody to just sort of keep possession. What we don't want is somebody who receives that back pass and you can't rely on a good first touch for, but also as well, you don't want that guy to be just getting it launched every single time, up to sort of, the striker, and then you end up losing it again. You need a guy that can keep possession, a bit like an Aaron Ramsdale, I think, to a degree. He's very good sort of at being able to sort of just pick out different players and be able to sort of either go long with it or be able to go short with it. And from the kind of stats, as well as I think just from sort of people's sort of understanding of him this season, from what I could gather from maybe people who watch Serie A more than I do, he's very good at sort of keeping possession in that type of manner. I think what's interesting, like Martin Walton sort of brought up in the comments there, he plays just as many passes per 90 as David Raya does. And this is, again, like a lower mid-table Serie A side, Empoli, who also as well conceded 70 goals last season. So this is a team that definitely doesn't, let's say, scream quality. And so if he's able to be trusted in a very defensive team to play this many passes, as well as be this utilized by their team, it does show that he must be one of the better players in that Empoli side, but also that his very defensive manager actually trusts him to use the ball and be able to sort of distribute. And, Antonio Conte as well, Dave, right? Even though we tried to play out the back with Lloris, it did reach a stage where it came to our own detriment. And it also, I think, meant that Conte sort of didn't really feel like he could play maybe the game that he wanted, often with trying to keep possession sort of in those deep areas. If we had a guy like Vicario, maybe this most recent season, I feel like we could have maybe, looked a lot better on the ball in that Antonio Conte system, and even in Ryan Mason's system as well. I think Vicario is going to be an adequate replacement. Also, just lastly as well, maybe another reason why he could be a bit better than Lloris is he's a bit more of a penalty kick specialist, and the fact that he saved, I think two, or he at least forced a guy to miss one, and then also as well saved one this season. And then the last season, he, I think, saved two or something like that. So he's actually a bit above average when it comes to saving penalty kicks as well. And we do know that Hugo, that was probably one of his biggest weaknesses.
Look, I do think it's an upgrade in Hugo in many areas, especially since Hugo's in decline. Is it an upgrade on David Raya, the guy that we originally wanted in here? I'm not so sure, and that's where it leaves me with a bit of concern, a bit of skepticism. But like I said, I'm going to give the guy a chance. There's a few pros in there, a lot of pros, but there's also a few things that I am worried about. So for me, I think, again, I'm just going to reserve judgment until we bring this guy in here, Jack, and I get to see what he's like between the sticks. But like I said, it is good to see us acting early, acting swiftly and fast in a position that we need, that is crucial in this transfer window. Some, I can understand why they'd feel a little bit disappointed in such a key area of the team. Maybe you do want a bigger name, a better name in that. I can understand that. But it does look like that Tottenham had a certain amount ring-fenced for a goalkeeper, and they weren't prepared to budge outside of what that ring-fenced to get a goalkeeper in here for. So, look, it does. Vicario, he suits. It's one that they've scouted. He suits the price range. He's coming in. He's due in London in a few hours to sign that contract. Guys, second signing of the summer over and done with. Jack, you any more to add before we move on to other transfer news?
I just say get behind him, everybody. Trust that Spurs are doing things maybe in much different sort of manner than they have in the past. We have heard rumors that we've been leaning on a lot more sort of analytical departments, as well as kind of outsourcing to a lot of various different type data agencies. And also as well, I mean, Paratici did beef up that sort of scouting department a lot more when he was there. And maybe we're leaning on these guys. And the fact that, like I said, and I'll emphasize, he's been linked with some very good clubs, this guy. So even though he's not been on everybody's radar or hasn't exactly been a household name, he easily could be in a few years. So I'm going to get behind him. And so I ask that everybody else as well, especially before he even kicks the ball. Let's not make the same mistake we have in the past, where we're, not even giving a guy a chance before he even kicks the ball or makes a save. But we have a super chat, I believe, there from the likes of Unlimited Dreamer, and he's saying, have you seen Ben Jacobs' latest tweet? I think he's referring to the fact that Chelsea have, I think, bought out a French club or have invested in Strasbourg, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think he's talking about the fact that Chelsea are kind of just continuing whatever scheme that it is of sort of having a lot of connections, as well as, you know, branching out to a bunch of different clubs and sort of having that network. And maybe a way, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's what he's referring to, because that's what I looked up was the latest tweet from Ben
Yeah.
Jacobs. All I could say is maybe Spurs nowadays do have to take a page out of maybe other bigger clubs' book and go for maybe the Red Bull approach or go for the City Group approach, and maybe think about partnering or just sort of having collaborations, deeper connections with clubs sort of in and around Europe, and make sort of our scouting as well as our sort of transfer kind of negotiations and, you know, kind of agreements, you know, a bit easier because you have a connection with clubs and etc. I don't know. It's just how the other big clubs do it. Maybe it's a page we need to take out of their book.
It's something that's happening more and more in football. You have a group called 77 Sports. They own a club in Brazil. They have shares in a club in France, Italy, and there's a Netherlands, and there's a few other clubs. You look at Red Bull, you know, they have clubs all over the world as well. You look at the Man City Group, clubs all over the world. You look at the Pozzo family, Udinese, Watford. How many players did you see go between them clubs and stuff like that? And it is a strategy that does look like more and more football clubs are starting to use. And I think the reason why is because they can use some of these smaller clubs, bring talents in from all over the world, develop them there in a first team football environment, and then filter them over into their original team, which is in Chelsea's case, in Todd Bowley's case, Chelsea. So, you know, I think you're going to see a lot more of this. And like I've said before, I wouldn't be surprised to see Tottenham go down this route. And that was maybe one of the reasons behind bringing in someone like Scott Munn, who has extensive knowledge of the City Group and how it's run and stuff like that. So maybe it's something to look out further down the line once we finish building the extra 5 stories on the hotel and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
let's wait and see if that is a route that Tottenham goes down.
Yeah.
But big up on Unlimited Dreamer. Really
We also have
appreciate the support, my
we
man.
also have Wayne, big up Wayne, Unlimited Dreamer, Wayne Bonner, celebrating 22 months as an elite member as well. Wayne, thank you for your service, my friend. I don't see a comment from you, Wayne. Actually, there it is. He says, "Good evening, all. Hope you're all well. Just joined. What have I missed? The members chat. I got bored and simply sent it empty." Well, Wayno, let me know what you think of Mr. Vicario, my friend, because he's looking like he could be a diamond in the rough type signing, where it's not exactly somebody that we sort of were aware of or even thought was in the short list. And all of a sudden now he's flying to London. He might not already be there. He's probably already on the plane, Wayne Bonner. And I'm excited to see what he brings. And I also do like the unknown signings from time to time, Wayne. I find them to be very sort of like, how would you put it, Dave? Like they can end up being those sort of like summer signings of the year, right? The guy that, you know, no one knew about, that all of a sudden just sort of takes the Premier League by storm. You even saw that with Jose Sa, right? For the likes of Wolves, he came in and had like in his first season, like one of the best seasons any goalkeeper had in a few years. And also as well, even Matoma over at Brighton, right? He took the Premier League by storm. So you never know. Sometimes guys that can be complete unknowns can come into things and become, you know, household names of the Premier League within a season. So I'm going to give Vicario that chance, Wayne Bonner. I'm going to give him that chance.
No, big up, Wayne. And look, it does look like that. You know, we've asked many times for manager and scouting department and whoever to sort of work together. And it does seem on this case that has been the case between Ange Postecoglou and Gabonini. And, you know, I think from the reports that I've read that Gabonini has sort of stepped up to do the work that Paratici was supposed to do before his suspension. But I think the good thing to take away from is that it does look like that like what we've asked for, that the scouting department and maybe Postecoglou are working together. So very, very interesting, because I know a lot of people were saying to me, Dave, have you considered that we haven't done any business because Ange Postecoglou doesn't start to the 1st of July? But like I was saying, trying to tell to people, Jacko, that I mean, he ain't getting the job unless he's put a plan forward of what players he wants out, what players he wants to bring in, this, that, and the other. So the club would have known way back then when he signed on the dotted line to agree to become Tottenham manager exactly what his plans were. So there should have been no sort of delays whatsoever and just get straight into it. And the fact that, you know, these two have held talks well over a month ago to establish targets, that's a good thing. Now, obviously, I could end up with egg on my face that something could come out tomorrow and say, look, they went completely against what Ange Postecoglou wants, blah, 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 blah. But according to reports from Ali Gold today, it does look like that this is one that they both worked on together and both agreed on. So that's another step in the right direction in that regard. However, it's the ability. Let's wait and see what he looks like. Let's not write him off before he joins. We've done it with Kulu, Bentancur, Gale, Spence, all the summer signings last year. A lot of people wrote them all off before they've even joined here, and it's not a good look at Tottenham Hotspur. You know, I get we have frustrations with the ownerships. I get that. But let's not take it out on the players, you know. Let's not take it out on them. Let's give them every chance and a fair chance to succeed at this football club, because all we want at the end of the day is people to come in and improve the situation. And if we're already putting them down before that, if they've got a weak mentality, they're not going to come in to improve this situation. But it's off to a good start. Goalkeepers checked off. Now on to centre-backs to really overhaul that defence.
Another thing too is that you never know, like, who if Vicario doesn't work out and David Rea is available on a free the following summer, he could still come to Spurs. Like, he could still end up coming to Spurs. Dark Sun G says Kulusevski, Bentancur, and Kudi Romero will make Vicario feel at home, in my opinion.
I seen one yesterday. I seen a highlight,
the welcoming party
yesterday, where he came. I sent it to you, Jacko. He came sprinted out and absolutely upended the defender or their striker to make that challenge. And as soon as I seen it, I was like, Romero-esque, get me him straight away. But also, interestingly, Jack, his nickname is Venom, and I don't know why, but I feel he's going to fit in with the likes of Porro, Emerson, Romero, that sort of mentality. You have to when you've got a nickname like Venom. You know, absolutely unbelievable.
Love that.
And, you know, look, it's good that we're starting to get rid of the old culture, right? Let's talk about Hugo Lloris and how important it is to get rid of him. This is a guy that was in decline. This is a guy that was your club captain. That's bollocking others for making mistakes, and he's making more than anybody. This is a guy that leads that dressing room, leads in training sessions and everything else, and had completely given up on Tottenham Hotspur. So the fact that that leadership is now going to change as well, it's a huge plus to get the old guard out and start bringing in the new guard, because as much as Hugo Lloris was a great servant to Tottenham, he held us back with distribution. You go back, watch some of the, the home North London derby game last year.
The modern game caught up with him.
Watch how many times Hugo Lloris ballooned that ball 80 yards up in the air, and it came back, and I think Odegaard came off and scored off one of them. And that can no longer keep continuing to happen. So it's good in that regard as well, that we are starting to freshen things up, which is what a lot of us wanted, Jacko.
Yeah, that's
G, especially you, Dark Sun G. You want this freshen up as bad as I do. We've been on about for years, my man.
Great research, Dave, on the Venom part. You're absolutely right. And I think, too, if Romero is going to be the welcoming party for him, Dark Sun G, I hope Romero gets to see that video that Dave was talking about, where he absolutely clattered into Dusan Vlahovic, I think it was, for Juventus. It was a brilliant tackle. And also Vlahovic, we know, is a big lad. So the fact that he was able to go after him in that sort of manner and just look completely fearless is a good sign. Actually, that was something I did kind of briefly mention in the scout report as well, Dark Sun G, if you haven't checked it out already. I did say that, I mean, by the looks of things, if you watch his highlights, he looks like a very brave goalkeeper. Like, he's a guy that will just throw his whole body kind of into a one-on-one. He'll take the guy out if need be. He'll throw his face right in front of the ball, even if it means he's getting a big kick to the stomach or a big kick to the face. He looks very sort of fearless, is what I would say, in a lot of the saves that he makes. He doesn't seem to sort of turn away or anything like that. He makes himself very big, and it's very clear that, you know, he's a tough guy to get it past. So that's what I also like about him. Big up, Dark Sun G.
Big up, Dark Sun G, my man. Really appreciate the support, brother. And hopefully you are keeping well, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. How's the old lad? He must be delighted with Liverpool signing McAllister as well.
Yeah.
But hopefully you and the family are keeping well, my man. Well, look, let's take some comments from the chat.
We have Chris, Chris member for 23 months as a fan show member. Chris keeping it also down as a moderator in the group chat as well, saying so much negativity on this signing. Why can't people just give him a chance? And I think we're trying to, you know, say that as much as we can right now, Chris, that it is a mistake that I feel like we often do make, where we're not even giving a guy a fair chance before he's even made a save or even kicked a, you know, a ball yet. And as well, if we do want to maybe look at some of the research that plenty of people before us have made, like Ali Gold, as well as other people that know more about the Serie A, this guy's been very well regarded this last season. And I know, like I said, he's not maybe one of the more household names like an Ederson or like an Allison or something like that. But we also have to give Spurs that chance, that they've done their research, they've done their due diligence, and maybe they unearthed, you know, a guy that could end up being one of the next household names of sort of the Premier League. And it's always the case that every season there's some new breakout stars and some new breakout faces that sort of take the league by storm. There's countless ones every single season, and I'm going to give Vicario that chance. And something that makes me, I think, even more assured about it is just the fact, Chris, that if Andre Onana were to leave Inter Milan, they apparently had him lined up as the replacement basically already. That's because he's an Inter fan, but it's also because they highly rated him as the guy to replace Andre Onana in case he left. And it looks like Spurs have maybe pounced on the opportunity before Onana has maybe left to get Vicario through the door. So I actually rate that as well.
Big up, Chris. Look, I get it. This is what I keep saying. We understand everything has been shit the last 4 years. It's been tough. It's been a grind, but when we're bringing in players to try and improve the situation, we can't keep putting them down. We have to give them players an opportunity. You've seen how quickly, people got on Emerson's back very quickly. Some would argue that it made him go and spend money on his career and develop himself and get better, this, that, and the other. But you can't be turning on players that quick, because those who turn on Emerson that quickly now have egg on their face, and it's that simple. He's one of our best defenders last year. Really turned it on from that Man City game onwards. So it is important that we do give these guys a chance at Tottenham, whether we agree with the signing or not. Dark Son G says, Doji and Vicario, welcome from Serie A. The trio, Kulu, Bentancur, and Cutie.
Yeah.
Look, I would say the Serie A league has served us well, especially in terms of Bentancur, our best midfielder. Many would say probably outside Harry Kane, player of the season last year. Cutie Romero, our best defender. I know there's been a few debates going around here and there about him, but if we're being brutally honest, best defender. Kulu, we spent money on Bergvall. We've had Lucas Moura here. We've had others here. Kulu's the only one that's been able to come in and link up with Kane and Son, so that served us well out wide. Now, we did sign Galini in goals from the Serie A. It didn't work out too well. However, let's give Vicario a chance. He's much better with his feet. Similar to Galini, though, he does like to come out and punch the ball, which I don't like. But the Serie A served us well. We have been able to pick up some gems out of there. I would like us to look at other leagues around the world. Don't get me wrong. I think there are players in other leagues we should be looking at. But the Serie A is a league that has served us well. You look at the scout. He's Italian. He knows that league very, very well. So I'm not surprised to see us steal some gems out of the Serie A. Are we going to get much more out of it? I'm not sure. But, who knows? Maybe these guys might form a new clique.
Yeah.
A bit of a leadership group in there. Who knows, maybe?
And we're finding ourselves some Italian friends for Udogi there, Dark Sun G. And also Bentancur and Cutie Romero will certainly give him a good welcoming as well. And it does make sense that maybe we're going for sort of guys that maybe we're just going after a league that we've had a bit of success in recently. I think Kulusevski has been, at least in my opinion, more of a success than other winger signings we've made in the past. Romero has been basically one of our best center backs we've signed in a long time. And you also look at Bentancur, one of the best central midfield signings we've made in a long time. And I agree with Dave. You can't rely on one league too much, but if this is maybe where more of our expertise is, or where we can make maybe some more consistent, quality signings, so be it.
For sure. Big up Dark Sun G. Very interesting to see how Udoji gets on, whether he can play a left back. He played all season at left wing back for Udinese. It'd be very interesting to see whether he can play left back or not. But look, let's wait and see. And even Udoji, he'd feel like a new signing because we haven't seen him yet. So he will feel like a new signing, it'd be interesting. But big up Dark Sun G, my man. I really do appreciate the support, brother. Look, Jack, just before we get on to more news, I know, see, Jack loves this guy. He loves him. He's dying to get on to him. I just want to take a couple of comments from the chat, see where people are at with this Vicario signing as well, guys. So keep putting your comments in. Also, while I start bringing them up, if you could all smash that like button, over 500 in-house, that would be absolutely awesome. And feel free to get your thoughts in, like a Dark Sun G, like Mr. Sweden, like Dermatron as well. Feel free to get your point of views in through a super chat. It's a great way to help us out. And we've got Terry Wright says, we've been burned so many times that it's hard not to be cynical, but I'm trying. 100%, I get that. Fully get that. And this is what I don't blame anyone for feeling the way they do. Yeah. I get it. Like, the hurt is there, and you have all the evidence to prove why you've been hurt. And I mean, no Spurs fan is particularly happy right now with what's gone on and stuff like that. And I fully get the hurt behind it. All I'm saying is that sometimes we need to park our hurt from the ownership and actually give other people that are brought in to try and improve the situation a chance, and just sort of compartmentalize it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then Echo says Vicario in goal, Romero, Tapsoba, Udogi at the back might give us a mean defense. Echo. I'm relieved to start seeing players linked to that back line and to that goalkeeping position. In fact, getting a goalkeeper gives me plenty of relief that at least Spurs are now going after sort of the positions that I at least identified were the biggest problem positions going into this summer. As much as I love to be connected to creative midfield sort of signings, maybe new wingers and stuff like that, I don't find that to be where our utmost priority is. I need us to be linked to those center backs, to those goalkeepers, and bringing in a guy like Vicario, again, not somebody that I was completely aware of, but after more and more research, it's actually proved to maybe be actually a potential diamond of a transfer and could be a real steal here. And not just because of a price. I do mean a steal on talent and a steal like on quality, considering the price and everything as well. And also the fact that I continue to mention so many other better clubs with better goalkeepers were actually linked with him as well. Also, maybe the goal in the center back positions, it's just good to see us linked with guys that we feel like can really partner Romero probably more adequately than actually previous guys have. I know maybe a guy like Tosinata Abayo isn't maybe the most convincing, but he's still better than what we were actually, used to in the case of Joe Rodon, Eric Dyer, Tanganga, Sanchez, Davies, the list goes on. So I'm looking forward to the fact that Spurs seem to at least get the ball rolling now on some center backs as well. So I'm happy, Echo.
Big up, Echo. Wayne Bonner says, screw all the negativity. I'm looking for one hell of a ride next season. Come on, you Spurs. Look, if Spurs don't give it to you, you could probably pay for it, man. If Spurs don't give it to you. But big up, Wayno. Look, I think that's all what we all want. We all just want a bit of, excitement next season, seeing the team try and play football in the right way. Scoot Reacts, good morning. Good to see you. New keeper number 1 or Forrester? Yeah, we've got Vicario in, my man, the Italian from Empoli. So that's who our new number 1 is. And I reckon Fraser Forrester will continue as the backup role. Foggy Foam says the club should take the defence seriously and don't bring Lenglet here, which we're going to get on to in a few minutes. I have a bit of a different take on that, but we won't fall out, Foggy Foam. Believe me, we will not fall out, my man. Who else? There's John Stokes in here. I want to find a comment from John Stokes. Ian Ferguson says, get the back line done and dusted, then go ham on centre midfield. Yeah, look, just strategically go through the positions that we need to get done, my man. That's all we got to do. It's not hard, It seems hard when you're a Tottenham fan, but it really isn't that hard at all. Mark New is in the building, says, love his nickname. Vicario Venom. He won't accept any rubbish from our defence. Moon Boots will be running for the door. Especially if he bites him, nickname as Venom, dangerous guy. And who else have we got here?
Love it, Mark New. Love it.
Big up, Mark New. Good to see you as well. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. DB says, we have moved to a database model, then great, but this data doesn't look that great, but agreed, give him a chance. Let's hope Rice goes to City. And I think I seen Jack Facey say, he was speaking to a mate who's a Juve fan, and he said that he wanted Juve to sign him, that he's been on about him for quite some time. So I think inside Italy, I think a lot of people actually rate this guy.
Yeah.
Outside Italy, Jack, he's a relatively unknown. And I think that's where it actually really sort of comes from. This is where a lot of the anger maybe comes from towards this signing as well. And it also doesn't help that David Raya, we started to go for him first and then switch targets. So, I mean, it is painting more of a target on Daniel Levy's back by doing that. But look, like we keep saying, let's wait and see. And Jazzy Jones says exactly, you buy diamonds from jewelers, you pay way more than if you find them in the rough, Lord. Last thing on David Raya, if we were to pay the 40 million, it'd make him the 4th highest expensive goalkeeper in world football, even more than what Man City paid for someone like Ederson back in 2017. And as well, I get people wanted Reyes, so did I. I even wanted Bazunu as well from Southampton. But what I will say is that if Tottenham fold and pay that money for David Raya and make him the 4th highest goalkeeper in world football ever, it has a knock-on effect. Every other club is going to see Tottenham coming and do the exact same thing. And I think that's why on this one, Tottenham have chose to stand their ground to show that they will not be taken advantage of. And when they are going to negotiate with clubs, that they will not be extorted. Whether we agree with it or not, you have to understand this happens in negotiations, and it does have knock-on effects if you pay that premium. That's why you see some of the transfers going for the colossal fees they are now, because you know how it starts is clubs pay for players where, you know, over the odds, and then all of a sudden that brings up the value of everyone else around them, and that's how you get the inflated market.
Paul Markey, I believe, said something on the same lines to that, Dave, where he actually more or less said that the explanation about David Raya was sort of that Spurs wanted David Raya, but they just didn't want to go above a certain price because they didn't think he was worth above a certain price. And they were willing to kind of go after other options that they thought were either just as good or options that maybe people weren't exactly as aware of that could prove to be even better than the likes of David Raya. And he, like you just said there, it could be the case that if we just sort of forked over 40 million right away for him and just basically gave Brentford straight away what they were asking for, you end up going into every other negotiation where people are just expecting you to eventually fold and eventually just give them what they've been asking for all along. And Spurs, of course, have been notorious for never being that club. But this could be a situation where it's actually worked out for us, maybe where we actually didn't fold right away. And we ended up maybe getting an even better version or even better keeper for a much cheaper price. And also when we go into negotiations for guys like TAPSOBA or guys like James Maddison, we also, again, can be sort of a bit more playing hardball, and we might actually get what we really want. And there is sort of that, you know, I agree with that sentiment. I understand a lot of people don't really care about the business side of the negotiations and everything, but I do feel like that is eventually, it's just how it works. It's just how it works. You do have to sort of not treat yourself too easily, or you can't make yourself look like an easy target or somebody that looks like a pushover in any regard. And I think Spurs have kind of done that in the David Raya situation.
Yeah. And just another quick update from Fabrizio Romano. Vicario will travel to London this weekend with medical tests now being scheduled. So it'll be interesting to see. You know, basically, I think he'll fly in, he'll sign his contract, that'll all be agreed, and then you just get the medical test, get the results, and then I think you'll probably get a proper announcement. You know, probably Monday after the weekend, I would say. I've seen another interesting tweet here. Someone says that his first name means protector. So if there's any Italians in there in the chat that, you know, knows Italian, let me know if the pronunciation of his first name is actually Resolute Protector. If you translate it to English, please do let me know, because if that is absolutely class, absolutely quality. And any of you old heads out there who might remember Gianluca Pagliuca, former Italian goalkeeper, he said on Vicario a couple of months ago that he is a very good goalkeeper. He will be the most sought after goalkeeper of the transfer window. If Inter sell Onana for a good price and sign Vicario, that would be a great deal. So, you know, he's had a lot of people in around Italy have a lot of praise on him. And I would just say, just to end this off and move on to someone like TAPSOBA so we can get Jack's juices flowing, because he absolutely loves this guy, is that, bear in mind, PSG, Inter, Juve, Brighton, Man United have all been looking at this guy. We constantly ask the club to get ahead of these signings so that we're not forking out millions and millions of pounds down the line. So maybe this is the time where they've actually started to listen to us. Like we said, let's wait and see. But I do urge everybody, please give the guy an opportunity and let's not write him off before he's even took up the gloves at Tottenham Hotspur.
Emily Dunn says over 550 in the house. Can we get the lads up to 200 likes? Well said, Emily, and exactly right. You listen to her here, everybody. I'm seeing only 160 likes with over 500 people in the house right now, everybody. So let's get to 200 as quickly as possible here, everybody. Let's get to 200 as quickly as this Vicario deal went down, because it nearly went down in the span of 12 hours, I swear.
I'm absolutely sweating my nuts off here, and it's uncomfortable. So, you know, just for that alone, it deserves a like button for the dedication, guys. So keep smashing that like button, keep getting your thoughts in. And like we keep saying, Super Chats, channel membership's a great way to help support your favorite content creators. And every single Spurs channel needs that support. We're no different to everybody else, but it'd be great. But look, Jacko, let's keep moving on. Let's go on to centre-backs.
Let's go on to center backs here. We're done with Vicario, and we're going to be talking about Edmond TAPSOBA here, and it's coming from Fabrizio Romano. And he said earlier today that he understands that Tottenham have started concrete contacts to be informed on Edmond TAPSOBA as a new center back. He's on the list since a long time, and Spurs are now exploring conditions on the deal on both the player and the Bayer Leverkusen side. Nothing advanced yet. TAPSOBA keen on the move. And we've been getting that kind of consistently from the sort of end of TAPSOBA. He's actually quite keen on moving to the Premier League and is quite keen on moving to London, which makes me actually very excited because I feel like he's at least I really rate him quite highly, Dave. In fact, he's sort of a center back that I maybe would put as one of my dream sort of signing type center backs from like 2 or 3 years ago. I loved Bruno Guimaraes ever since he was over at Olympique Lyon, and I always wanted him to sort of come to Spurs. He went to Newcastle, and it feels like, I haven't gotten a dream signing, in a long, long time. A guy that sort of has been on my radar for a bit of, a while, and maybe after a few years gets noticed and eventually just sort of goes on to a different club. But this time, it's some legs behind it. It does seem to be the case that TAPSOBA is at least being courted more by Spurs, and he's also quite interested in coming to Spurs, which makes me really excited. We've also spoke about constantly how the center back signing that partners Romero is going to need to be perfect in a lot of different ways. He needs to be a guy that I think a lot of people feel like can calm down Romero and be maybe a calming influence to him, but also somebody that can be just as good on the ball as Romero, if not better, so that he can feel like, he's not constantly, in fear of giving it to someone like a Dyer or a Sanchez who will lose it and then put the team under pressure. In fact, TAPSOBA, from my knowledge, at least when he's, gone to the Bundesliga, has been one of the best passing center backs in Europe for basically the last few years. And he even came into a Peter Bosch sort of like Bayer Leverkusen team, if I recall. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. And he statistically was one of the best passing center backs out of the back in Europe. And they played also one of the highest lines as well in Europe at the time too. So he's a really good passing center back, Dave, really good on the ball, but is also very used to playing with a high line, which is also, again, something that Ange Postecoglou does. So it's, I think, going to be a guy that's actually going to slot in quite seamlessly here. He plays on the left, or at least is quite used to playing on the left, despite being a right-footed player. I really love him. He's tall, he's fast, good in the one-on-ones, good in the air. I mean, he's got things to work on because he's still a young player, but I can't really say he's got like a real, like, huge weakness that I can actually, point out. I think the only weakness that I could point out is the fact that he's still quite young and probably still has a lot of learning to do, and maybe positional awareness, certain, reading of the game, might still need to be fleshed out in certain situations. That all comes with experience and, more games. But Edmond TAPSOBA, for me, Dave, I think since he's gone to the Bundesliga, has secretly been one of the next up and coming, world-class center backs, I think, in the game. I'm not saying he's like at Gavardio's level or anything like that, but I think he's actually secretly been one of the best center backs in the Bundesliga. And I'm actually really excited by this move for so many different reasons. And I think he's probably the perfect kind of partner for Romero. Maybe if he were left-footed, could be even more perfect, but you can't always win them all. I think he's actually been one of the best passing center backs, as well as just one of the best sort of young and up and coming center backs for a long time now.
Just quickly, Spurs 72, good to see you in the building. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, my man. I haven't seen you in a while. Hopefully you are keeping well, sir. And also, Jacko, quickly, Cockeyed Steve says, I remember you on Flat Cap show with Darius a few years back. I suggested in the stream we looked at Poro, TAPSOBA, and Baynder. All three might happen. Hashtag ITK Cockeyed TV. Big up, my man. Big up, brother. Legend. Look, Jack, he's very highly rated around Europe. Let's get that out there straight away. And I think it is a signing that would appease the majority of the fan base. I don't think you would have maybe the split opinions that you see with Vicario, right? I think he's one that would please the majority of this fan base. And look, he's very good, Jack. And what I think we need out of him the most, because I think he solves a lot of problems, is aerially. The guy's 6'4", very good in the air. Headering is one of his strengths. And what I like about it as well, Jack, is it's not always just ballooning the headers straight back into the middle of the park, cushion down headers to players beside him. I mean, I forgot what that even looked like at Tottenham Hotspur with Dyer and Sanchez and people like that. Like you alluded to, very good on the ball, strong, very good in the air. So he does solve a lot of problems. And could be an ideal partner for someone like Romero, in my opinion. However, Jack, this one is going to rumble on for quite some time. He is 24, he's at a good age, and he's got 3 years left on his contract. So the selling club are in no rush to sell him whatsoever.
We haven't even talked about a fee yet. Like, we don't even know what the fee could be. It could be, I rate him as much as a 60 million, pound center back. I would pay as much as that for him. So I don't even know what the fee could be. And that's a good point they make there. Sorry, Dave, continue.
No, I was just going to say it's going to be a big fee, Jack. It's going to be pricey. And this one is not going to get done quickly. This is one that could well rumble on for quite some time because of the price. I know that Arsenal were originally looking at him. I think Tottenham and Arsenal actually sent scouts out to watch him this year. But Arsenal have since gone for Julian Timber because they were turned off by the asking price for this guy. So, with us not willing to pay what Brentford want for David Raya, are we going to pay what Leverkusen want for TAPSOBA? I'm not quite sure, because realistically they can put any fee. I'm sorry to put a downer on you here, Jacko. I don't mean to be made in.
No, we haven't even spoke about a fee.
But Leverkusen can literally ask for what they want for this guy, so they can overprice him. And as we've seen with Raya, Tottenham will not pay that. So I think this is one that could rumble on for quite some time into the transfer window yet. But it is one that there's going to be, as soon as we do sort of come to an agreement on a price or something like that, a lot of other clubs around Europe will be alerted and they will come in for him. So for me, I think it's one that if we do want to get this done, this is a situation of pay the money, get it done before other European clubs get alerted, because we know what happens there. They'll just go elsewhere.
In contrary to what we just said in contrary to what we were just saying with Vicario, this is one where you do pay the money because he's very highly regarded. He could play for a variety of very top clubs around Europe. And if we spend too much time just kind of negotiating over the fee, and TAPSOBA gets wind that there might be another top elite club that wants his services and are willing to give him plenty of playing time, I wouldn't doubt that he'd be happy to take that move as well, despite him showing the initial signs that he's keen on the move. And that's also important here, that we're getting all the good signs that this could be a deal that could get done this summer, but it's still, very, very in the beginning stages, as well. And that's a very good point that you bring up there, Dave. Hotspur, go ahead.
I was just going to say, he is a defender that will improve that back line, and as soon as you sign him, he walks straight into that team. There's none of this, will he get in ahead here, will he get in ahead there? He walks straight in. Very good player, this guy. And just quickly, Jack, before we let you move on to Hotspur 82, by the way, it's good to see you too, sir. What I like about him, Jack, as well, is not only does he have a good passing range on him, but this is one thing that Ange will love, is that if the space is there for him to run into, he will go with that ball. He will go with that ball, and he's good enough to play 1-2s and stuff like that. So, that's what I really like about him, is that he's not afraid to drive into that space, and he's a player that really does suit Ange Postecoglou's system.
And he plays progressive football. He plays progressive football. He's not playing in a defensive side that's, every man behind the ball right now. He's playing it in teams that dominate possession, that try to break teams down, that sort of play with a very high line. And so that's what also makes me excited, is that he's not going to be coming into a system that I think will be completely foreign to him. I think he'll also, find this Ange system quite comfortable. And that's what also makes this a very smart signing, I think, is that you're signing a guy for a possession-based system. TAPSOBA is absolutely one of the best center backs you could sign for a possession-based system like Ange's.
For sure. Sorry, Jack, I'll go back up and get you Hotspur 82's comment now. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to find it. He says, Jack, here it is.
He says, TAPSOBA sounds like the real deal, and he's keen to join despite no European football to look forward to. Let's get this deal done as soon as possible. This is where I'm almost nervous, like Hotspur 82, because I just felt like he would not really be linked to a club like Spurs kind of. And if we are maybe making these moves before other clubs are, like you just said, we need to act quickly. Whereas with the David Reyes situation, I was actually fine with us sort of looking at other targets and thinking about, an option B for a cheaper sort of position. Because I even said, I don't even know who the best goalkeeper in the world is right now, maybe other than Mike Maignan and maybe some other older maybe goalkeepers, but it's sort of up in the air. Whereas with center back, I feel like I know who I want, and I feel like I know who some of the better center backs in the world of a certain age group are. And I think TAPSOBA is absolutely one of them. So there's no messing about. Just get the deal done. Whatever they ask for, I think you should kind of pay it. If you are to sort of fork over the money for the initial asking price for a player, absolutely this should be the guy. And especially since we don't have that European football or anything to also incentivize him to come over. Good point.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And look, with TAPSOBA, like I said, it's imperative that we get this one done very, very quickly. No long protracted negotiations. If he's your guy, you go and get him in. He's absolutely everything that Eric Dyer and Davison Sanchez wish they were, or that we thought when we signed them we're going to develop into and never did. So let's get him in. Dark Sun G says Bayern Leverkusen gave us the godson. Let's hope they do it again. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we also got Berbatov back from them in the day as well. So we do have a history of. Am I correct in saying Berbatov came from there? I think I am.
Did he not come from a Premier League side before, or Monaco, or no? He went to Monaco after. I'm trying to remember. Maybe you're right, Dave. Maybe he did actually come from the Bundesliga. I'm trying to remember. If that's the case, then they definitely have given us some absolute gems.
Yeah, we signed him from Bayer Leverkusen. So,
wow.
We have
there you go.
Put me in a quiz team. I'm absolutely on it.
But
look, we like that Sunji says, we have history with Bayer Leverkusen. With Berbatov, with Sonny, maybe we still have a good relationship there that maybe we could get something like TAPSOBA done. I am concerned about how much it's going to cost, though. I think that will be the biggest sticking point. There's no question on talent. No question does he want to join. As you see here, he's keen on the move. The biggest sticking point, and what it always is with Tottenham, is the price.
I hope they deliver us this gem here, Dark Sunji. I think this could end up being one of the best signings we've made in genuine years. Like, he could be just as good of a center back signing as Romero, if not better. I think that's how highly I rate this guy. You know how much I raved about Bruno Guimaraes way back in the day before a lot of people were talking about him. I think it's the same thing with TAPSOBA. I can find clips of myself 2 or 3 years ago talking about TAPSOBA. So this is how much I love this guy. And I really do hope that we do get this deal done. And it is one of the things where, even though I love talking about prices and I love talking about the negotiations and, what's a good deal here, what's a good deal there, no way with this one. I think you just pay what they ask for, Dark Sun G, and I promise that we won't regret it. And also as well, I do feel like TAPSOBA is going to be a guy that could easily get his head turned. So let's not let him get his head turned.
Just before we move on, Jacko, do you see Tottenham paying the fee required to get this guy in, or do you think that they've probably ring-fenced less, maybe in around 30-40 million for a centre-back, and they're not really going to go above and beyond that? What's the most you would pay for this guy? Because look, like you said, this is a guy that's got you stiff for 3+ years now. So, what's the cap you would pay for this guy? Where does
I rate him as highly? I rate him this highly. I would say, like Bruno Guimaraes, I said one day Bruno Guimaraes could be a £100 million player. I think TAPSOBA one day could be a £100 million type player. Like, he is that quality. And so we're looking at a guy right now who's probably, with 3 years left on his contract, probably anywhere at least 50 million. I think he probably could be at least 50 million. Knowing Bundesliga clubs, though, Dave, they're not always, asking for huge fees. Sometimes they actually ask for a lot less than what usually people might initially start with. So we could end up maybe only paying 40 million, something like that. But I do feel like this could be a 50 million, 60 million sort of euro pound transfer, something in that type of range. And I feel like we're going to probably pay a similar price to maybe what we did for Romero. He's probably, to a degree, a similar talent level and a similar ceiling to what Romero was. We paid 60 million, I think, in installments to the likes of Juventus. And I could see us doing a similar thing to Leverkusen here, where we maybe set a price tag of around 60 million, pay it in installments in a similar sort of structured deal like the Romero one was. I'd pay as much as 75. If it was even my own money, I'd pay as much as 75 to 80 million for him right now. I think he's that highly rated. I think he's just, and I know someone said in the comments there, which is a great comment, and I try to bring it up there, but someone, I think maybe rightfully so, and I've said the same thing in the past, that center backs from the Bundesliga can be a bit inconsistent and they can be a bit sketchy, right? Because it is a bit of a league where it's like very high lines, and they all sort of play quite similar to each other in the Bundesliga with the high pressing, and going into the Premier League, it's a whole different ball game, and you're coming up against much better sort of opponents. And as well, I just feel like he just brought up there, the Bundesliga hasn't always produced the best center backs. They can kind of produce some center backs that look actually a bit overrated all of a sudden when they go to a different league. But I don't think TAPSOBA is in that bracket. I really don't.
And Jazzy Jones makes a point where he says, you know, it could be his agent trying to drum up interest from other clubs around Europe to pounce on him. Very well could be the case. We know that does happen. So big yourself up. Bobby K says, you guys said we weren't willing to pay for Raya. Is it possible that Postecoglou came in and identified the goalie he wanted and we got him? We were linked to Raya before he even got here. 100%
club
Bobby
signing
K.
versus Postecoglou signing, maybe Raya the club signing, Postecoglou, or spot on.
Yeah, no, 100%. That could be the case. It could very well be the case. But you know, according to reports from Aligo today, that this is something when Paratici was here that the club have been scouting on and inquiring about since then. So it's hard to weigh up. Is it a Postecoglou signing? Is it a signing that's happened? You know, that we've identified before Postecoglou got in. Is David Raya someone that Postecoglou really wanted? It's hard to know. It really is hard to know because, you know, you if you look at it as go, okay, Raya, we wanted him before Postecoglou got here, and that makes Vicino or Vicario, sorry, a Postecoglou signing. But when you look at reports put out by Ali Gold today, it's even more confusing because he says that this is one that was scouted and inquired about when Paratici was here. And that was long before Postecoglou signed on the dotted line. So it's hard to know. It really is hard to know. But, you know, Gabbanini, I got it right, Jack?
Yeah, you're getting it spot on, Dave.
Yeah,
4 times in a row now.
You know, my dyslexia comes back to haunt me at times, but Gabbanini, who also has taken up sort of scouting roles and sort of some of the Paratici duties since Paratici was let go, he has had contacts with Postecoglou, and I'd like to think that they have talked about it and maybe agreed on this one, maybe agreed on Vicario. Let's wait and see, my man. I'm pretty sure there'll be more to come out. And then Sean also says that TAPSOBA would be a dream signing. He's on that White Scout too much. He must be on it with you, Jack, up past midnight secret scouting mission.
I remember TAPSOBA before the days of Y Scout, Shawnee. I think it was back in the days of just me watching random Bundesliga games, watching Hertha Berlin just get smacked by various clubs across the Bundesliga, and TAPSOBA caught my eye immediately. And it's just because I find center backs that are good on the ball and, you know, unpressable to be the type of center backs that Spurs really need, because nowadays in the Premier League, it just feels like everybody's playing this high octane, really high pressing brand of football. And you're going to need center backs that can pick out passes and be able to break the lines in order to maybe lead to, you know, good sort of breaks and be able to break down the teams like Arsenal, break down the teams like Brighton that play that sort of really, you know, expansive brand of football. And if we want to play our own expansive brand of football, I think TAPSOBA is practically one of the best in the world that we could go after. And I think there's clips that I'll have to, you know, find somewhere on Flatcap, Sean, almost from 2 or 3 years ago of me talking about this guy. I've loved him that long.
Yeah, you will. He absolutely loves him. I knew this one would get his juices flowing as soon as I seen it. Jacko, just quickly, because I know we have a couple of other bits of news to get onto, but Dylan88 brings up something here. He says, Ange plays out from the back. He needs a goalkeeper with a decent short ball. Raya was good at long balls, and we know that, kicking out from the hands. But when we went and looked into Raya a bit more, with the ball at his feet, maybe he wasn't as good, maybe a bit as dicey as Hugo Lloris. Could the fact that Vicario is a lot better with the ball at his feet maybe sort of sway Tottenham to go and get him? And does he suit Ange Postecoglou's system better because he's good with the ball at his feet rather than the long-range passes like someone like David Raya?
Great question from you and a great comment from Dylan there. I tried to allude to that in my scout report as best I could without, you know, slating David Raya too much, because, you know, the scout report was about Vicario. It wasn't about David Raya, but it was about also comparing the two and sort of seeing why maybe Spurs were maybe going after Vicario instead of a David Raya. One of the things that you could say that Vicario has that David Raya doesn't is that more tendency to play the short or medium kind of distribution, you know, kind of passes where they're more of a, you know, a shorter type of range. David Raya is basically regarded as world class at sort of leading counterattacks by getting it launched up to Ivan Toney or Mbuemo. And he does that sort of, you know, drop kick from his hands, Dave, that pretty much is on the money into the likes of Ivan Toney every single time. But I feel like somebody like Vicario doesn't really have an Ivan Toney in his team over at Empoli. So it does seem like when they are passing it back to him, they're asking him to not just get it launched every time like Raya does. They're actually asking him to pick out different types of ranges of passes to keep possession and to sort of not put the team under any more pressure by losing it again. So it does seem like he's a guy that's maybe not as good at getting it launched as David Raya is, but could be better than David Raya when it comes to sort of the simple keeping possession, just keeping the ball moving and not losing it when being pressed quite up the pitch. So there is maybe that hope there that he's actually better than Raya in that department.
Yeah, 100%. David Raya is good at springing quick, fast counterattacks, where I think Vicario is probably better at actually, being able to move the ball across the back line from left to right and stuff like that. Great answer, Jacko. And if anyone wants more on Vicario, please check out the Vicario Scout Report that Jack put a lot of effort in late last night and got recorded today for you guys. So make sure you reward that effort and at least just give it a watch and a like. It's all we ask. If you want more in-depth analysis,
I've marinated chicken, Dave, in less time than this deal has gotten done. I mean, I've marinated chicken in 24 hours, and this deal has been gotten done this quickly. Also, Mia W has been a member for 8 months, Dave, as a fan show member, and she says, that was TMI, Dave. I think she was talking about from something that you might have said earlier, and she says, hope you are both hope you are both well. And again, bad Jack for keeping your birthday secret. Hope you had a good one, though. And hopefully getting what he needs. That was a really interesting theory, Mia, from whoever said that earlier. I think it was Dave or somebody in the comments, that potentially David Raya, more of like a Levy kind of like just genuine club signing that everybody rates, that everybody really likes, that they could have been talking to for the majority of the season. Whereas Vicario could have been a guy that, like you said, Paratici initially sort of brought to the club, but maybe Postecoglou took a look at between the two and sort of thought Vicario actually is just as good, and maybe he's actually more the guy that I need than a David Raya. And you'd hope to believe that that's the case, but I do hope that he is an Ange signing, or at least that Ange has given the go-ahead, and I imagine he has, and he does seem to fit a lot of the attributes that Ange would be looking for in a goalkeeper.
Well, with Ange Postecoglou, Jack, a lot of people just think he has extensive knowledge of Australia and the J League. But apparently that's not the case. Apparently he's got a good knowledge worldwide of players. Yeah. Apparently so. So look, what I will say is the fact that they spoke last month, Gabonini, Levy, and Postecoglou and Munn, I would say that maybe they have come to some sort of agreement that we'll go for David Raya, but we're not paying the 40 million. So if we don't get him for 40 million, is Vicario okay? So, look.
I think Ange is a bit like yourself, Dave. I think he's just listening to podcasts about football constantly, just listening to whatever he can, and just pass the time, never switches off. It's just his passion. It's just his, it's like I just said, it's just his passion, and so he never switches off. You're right. I think he's just that sort of guy. And so he might know about these sort of gems before anybody else does, or he might just have a better radar about players than maybe other managers do.
Yeah, he does. He does. Look, you don't go everywhere you've been and implement your style and philosophy with signings that you've brought in if you don't have a good knowledge of world football. But if anyone wants to actually listen to a really good podcast or an interview with Ange Postecoglou, check out his interview with the Open Goal podcast. Absolutely brilliant. He talks about never being switched off, never too far from his phone, in constant communication with people during transfer windows and everything else. Very, very interesting. Jack, we've got a couple of super chats here, and then we've got some more news to crack onto. We have TF Swag. Love the name. He says, we should go for Anderson as a backup.
Very good on the ball as well, Joachim Anderson. I could see that being an interesting signing. What I would say, though, is Anderson, from when I watch him, he's really good at doing actually the Toby type passes, at sort of, clipping it over the top and, spraying it and going for those real long range, sort of pings to people in behind. I think Joachim Anderson, that's probably one of his best attributes. Whereas if we're playing with a really high line, is that really always going to be capable, or is that always going to be a possibility for Joachim Anderson if you're playing against a team that's sitting really deep? And also, I would say, too, he's not the quickest of center backs either. I do think he can be a bit slow at times. I think he's quite good. I think he's a guy that we probably should have signed from Lyon or Fulham, wherever he was coming from. And I think we missed that boat and we missed that opportunity. I think he would have been a great replacement for Eric Dyer like 2 or 3 years ago. But maybe right now, I'm not so sure. I think actually I might go after something different actually than Anderson. But then again, if he's available for maybe less than like 20 million or something like that, absolutely.
Look, I like Anderson. I think he's very good in the air, and I think he's got a very good passing range on him as well. I like them. I think he was much better when he had that loan spell at Fulham than maybe what he's showing at Crystal Palace. But look, the fee that's going to take to get him out of there, I think we probably will be looking somewhere more around Europe. Maybe if you're looking at in England, players that maybe have a year left on the contract, I think that's what you'll probably be looking at. I don't think we will pay the fee for Anderson to come out of there. Plus, it does look like that Tottenham have Guehi on the
an English
radar.
center back, homegrown center back,
Yeah.
more likely TF Swag. That's a good point you make there, Dave. So Max Kilman, Tosin Adarabioyo, all these guys we've been actually linked with. So maybe more likely a homegrown center back could be the other center back we go for.
Especially now because Ray is not happening. He would have been a homegrown player in here. So now that that's not happening, you are going to have to look at a couple of homegrown options here and there. Yeah. And maybe that guy from Fulham could be the guy that might end up coming in the door. He is homegrown. But Dark Sun G says Vicario might be like Royale, while Raya is Tomiyasu.
I feel like Royale.
He's gone with the long game here, Jacko.
Vicario, I hope it doesn't go through sort of any transformation. I don't know, like the Royale sort of journey. I've enjoyed it, but it's also been a rough one, Dark Sun G, backing Emerson Royale from the very beginning. It just felt like he had a big target on his back from just sort of football in general, as well as just from the sort of fan base. And I hope Vicario doesn't have to go through that. I hope he just sort of proves people wrong initially. And I'm glad at least that, too, this didn't end up being a real sort of like dragged out saga like the Tomiyasu one was. The Tomiyasu one was dragging on for months and months and months and months, only for us to, sign Emerson Royale at the end of it. If we had sort of signed Emerson Royale really early into the window, with us maybe being linked with Tomiyasu kind of during the season, I think that would have made it a bit more similar. So I don't know. I'm happy that we at least brought in a goalkeeper sort of at least straight away to replace Hugo. And Dark Sun G as well was sort of, I think, in my boat, Dave, where he's been on Hugo's case for a long time this season. And so I think Dark Sun G is probably happy to see that the goalkeeper has been at least one of the first signings. It's not been one of the last signings this summer, one of the first signings.
Yeah. No, look, I suspect that Dark Sun G is liking some of the signings coming in, but I also suspect he's not 100% happy like me, Jacko, until we start seeing certain players out the door. That is another thing that's concerning me right now. Doesn't look like too many people want what we got to sell, which is a huge issue. But Dark Sun G, it steps in the right direction. Let's see how many steps we're willing to take in the right direction, my man. Big yourself up, brother, and hope you're keeping well. Also, let me know if there's any other names out there, Dark Sun G, that maybe you think we should be looking at, stuff like that. Big yourself up, brother. Everyone keep smashing that like button, keep smashing that subscribe button, keep sharing the stream out far and wide. Let's help your boys get to 11K, and feel free to get in your super chats like so many others with your thoughts, your opinions. It highlights your comment. It means we have to read it regardless, and we'll have to have a discussion on it. And it's just a great way to help keep your boys doing this, providing content, doing YouTube, providing watch-alongs and everything else. So why not? Why not? But Jacko, I think you have a members chat there.
John Stokes, here he is, Dave, for you. Member for 16 months, Flat Cap member, says, big up, Dave and Jack, the best for Spurs fan show. And he's given us a big heart as well. Big up, John Stokes, my friend. And I understand that. I feel like John's been probably let down a bit sort of this season. He wanted Arne Slot. We were inches away, it looked like, from getting Arne Slot. Then he wakes up to the news that, it didn't happen. I'm not sure if he was a big David Raya fan, but I know in John Stokes, he watches plenty of the Premier League and plenty of, football in general. He knows plenty about goalkeepers. And I just think his probably had maybe David Raya as a guy that maybe he well rated, and Vicario, even though I know plenty of European players and I try my best to sort of keep updated, I wasn't even well aware of Vicario. I'll be honest, John Stokes. Like, I had to do a lot of research in the span of like 12 or 18 hours. So I'm going to sort of do my best to, give him a good shot and give him a good sort of chance with us and give us as much information as we can about him. But David Rea was certainly much more of a well-known type goalkeeper, and there is that as well, that maybe we feel a bit let down that he was probably a signing that made sense. But let's hope that Vicario actually proves a lot of people wrong. But John Stokes, I hope you I hope you have some good summer plans, or at least I hope you have some good summer activities lined up this summer, my friend. Big up, John.
Yeah, big up, Johnny. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Hopefully you're not suffering in this heat like I am, brother. Look, maybe we just need to get some super glue to stick to his glove, so when he goes to punch it, the ball sticks there, and so that he's not punching it away and stuff like that. But look, I also understand your frustration when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur, and I think I seen you earlier on saying that this was a Levy signing, and I can understand how people, sort of come to that conclusion, because it does look 40 million for your number one target, or the guy that you've been chasing or you've been identifying quite some time. And then this guy comes available for less than 20 million. And, we hop on it. So I can understand why it seems like that. I'll just ask of you, Johnny boy, let's just give him a chance. Regardless of what your thoughts are on the club and the chairman and the ownership, let's give the actual player a chance. And I know you will, my man. I know you will. Big yourself up, my man.
Hey, Bobby K, just put it in again there, my friend. I missed it. Genuinely, I missed it. I've been trying to, speak and give my opinion as much as I can. And then I look down at my phone as well when I can. And I probably missed it. I probably missed it, dude. Put it in again there. No need to accuse me or anything like that, please. No need to do that. Just throw it in there again. I probably missed it. And also, StreamYard, as you well know, just, doesn't do a great job at telling us about them. And I'm trying to look up and down as best I can at the moment, my friend.
Mine only goes up there just past Johnny Stokes. So, Bobby K, just put it in the chat and we'll bring it up, my man. Apologies, and let us know how many months it was as well, brother. Big yourself up. And then there was one here. There was one here that I wanted to talk about just briefly before we went to move on. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Can't find it now. Cannot find it now. Oh, yeah. Michael, back Monday, brother. Back Monday. We'll have a good conversation. Big up. Good to see you, my man. Bobby Case, just like I said, just put it in the chat there, buddy, and we'll bring it up. Dark Zone G says, since Ange likes Asian players, I hope we go for here, Jack. You're better with these pronunciations than me. I'll absolutely murder this.
Dark Sun G says, since Ange likes Asian players, I hope we go for, I'll try my best here, Hong Hyun Suk from Belgium League. He is a young, hard working, or go for Hong Young Gu from, or Hyun Gu from Celtic in the future. We need midfielders until Bentancur returns. I am interested in maybe a diamond from the likes of the Belgian league. When was the last time we pulled off like a Toby type signing or something like that from the Belgian league? That would be nice. Where I guess Toby originally came from the Belgian league, came from Atletico Madrid and whatnot. But you feel like there are some, real talents coming out of there at this stage. And Belgium do produce some really good, players. And I think they might have a bit of a golden generation that could be sort of replacing their previous golden generation. But I'm not aware of any talents that are Korean, maybe from that area, at least in that league, Dark Sun G. What I would say, though, is there is that guy who plays in the Bundesliga, I think for Freiburg. I'm a big fan of his, and I forgot his name. I used to mention him to you, but now I haven't mentioned him in such a long time that I might have forgotten his name. And he's a good right winger that maybe could be of use to us. But there are a lot of good Korean players in the Bundesliga that I know for sure. Big up, my man. And I'm not too aware of this guy, though, at Celtic.
Yeah, he hasn't played too much, Jacko. He's only played 11 times in the Scottish Premiership, and I think a lot of them appearances actually came once Celtic had the league wrapped up. I think he has been a part of the B team, which is the Celtic B team, which is sort of equivalent to Tottenham, what Tottenham's under 21 will be. And I think he's come through that sort of system there. So, look, Dark Sundry, let me know. Do you think that Hyung Yu is ready to make that step up to
would he be like a Matoma signing?
Yeah, especially considering he hasn't been a main feature of that Celtic team in Scotland. Let me know. I'm just curious. You obviously know you know more about this guy than I do, but just let me know, my man. Let me know.
And also, Dark Sun
I would like Rio Hatate, though, from Celtic. He's a very good midfielder, a lot of energy, good legs, good on the ball, scores, assists, mops up. I really like Rio Hatate.
Also, as well, though, Dark Sun G, Kang-in Lee going to PSG, I think, was a sad sort of miss, because I think you and I both know that he was somebody that we both sort of rated for a long time that could have been an interesting attacking signing for us. And he actually could have been quite cheap for us to have gotten actually a long time ago, if not even this summer. I think he went on a free or something like that to PSG. So I hope that maybe we do still keep an idea, or at least keep our radar on some of the young and up and coming Korean talents. There was somebody, though, that we were looking at, that we were at least linked to for a day from the K League, if I'm not mistaken, because there was a random link one day that I saw from a pretty valuable source to a player in the Korean League that Spurs have an eye on. But all I can say is that I do hope that, you know, at least keep our radar, you know, on some of these guys, especially because I do feel like you guys are producing maybe more talented players than you used to. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
I think they have a golden generation coming through as well.
You
You know,
do.
I keep saying
It
it, but
swings
yeah.
about in nations, Jack. You know, you had Belgium there for a while, Portugal. Now you've sort of a lot of people are looking at South Korean players, Japanese players, and stuff like that. So you sort of, it goes round in circles, and you know, it's Asia's turn, and I'm sure Dark Sun G is absolutely delighted because, you know, they're absolutely fanatical football fans over there. It's crazy.
He's saying Oh Hyun-gu had a really good second half of the season. So he joined during the winter window, then had a really good second half of the season over at Celtics. That's actually worth noting. And then I think the player that I might have been talking about from the K League that was mentioned was Kang Sung-jin, he said. And I'm not sure what position he plays, but I do hope that, like I said, you know, we just keep our radar on some of these guys, because it does feel like you're producing these sort of talented Korean players at a much steadier rate than you used to, Dark Sun G. And I wouldn't doubt that you guys will be at the next World Cup for sure.
For sure. Big yourself up, Dark Sun G, brother. Really appreciate the support, my man. And good conversation as well. Bobby K says, since I don't get to bug you boys too much lately when you are live, I have to take my opportunities when they're... No, that's not the one I wanted. He did put in another one. Should have read that, actually. Where is it? He says, Jack, it's a 16-month member chat. Just saying hi. Nothing important, just like bugging you.
Appreciate you, Bobby K. 16 months. Thank you for your service, my friend. That's crazy, brother. And let me know how Toronto is these days, and if there is, you know, any good weather up there, or if you guys have escaped any of the, because I don't know what the fire situation is, but I do hope that you're safe, and I do hope that, you know, you're healthy and everything, and everybody in the family is doing okay and all that. And also hopefully, you know, the mean streets of Toronto are, you know, keeping you entertained maybe in the best ways they can, but also hopefully, like I said, you know, you're keeping well this summer. And same thing to John Stokes. I hope you have some good summer plans lined up as well to maybe distract you too.
Yeah. Big up, Bobby. I hope you can breathe. I know you've got a lot of forest fires going over there at the minute, so hopefully it's not too difficult for you to do the basic, which is breathing, my man. Big yourself up, Bobby K. There was something I wanted to do there just quickly. Where is it? I can't remember. I can't find it. Anyway, we'll keep going. We will keep moving on, but big up, Bobby K, my man. Sorry we missed that, brother. But look, Jacko, next on to the Clementine.
On to Clement Longley here, everybody. And Tottenham and Barcelona have made progress on a deal for Clement Longley. The English club has offered 5 million euros, and that's come from Ferran Correas over at Sport. And it's a Spanish publication over in Barcelona. And apparently this guy is quite connected, at least to, I think, any of the media outlets over in Barcelona, in Catalonia. This is sort of the price tag that I said I'd be happy to take Longley for, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. 5 million euros, if I remember, if you could probably catch me in a stream maybe a few months ago, that's what I said I would take Longley for. We need a lot of center backs. We've spoke about how we probably want as many as 3 to 4 center backs, if not more, this summer, and we're not going to be able to spend 30 million, 40 million on each of them, especially when some of them are going to be likely more bench options or corner backup options to the established first team players. And Longley, I think, has proven to be a better center back than Eric Dyer, a better center back than Davinson Sanchez, a better center back than Ben Davies, a better center back than Jeff Tanganga, and a better center back than Joe Rodon. And I know people will say, Jack, that's not saying much. It's not a higher standard. But believe me, I feel like he was much, much better than those guys. And part of it had to do with the fact that he's so much better on the ball for the first in the first place than those guys. What we needed this year was a center back that was confident on the ball, that was incapable of losing it, you know, when being put under a little bit of pressure. And now also we have, you know, the likes of a Romero, who we know is good on the ball, and we could be getting in TAPSOBA, who we know is good on the ball. And we need guys that are good in possession in this Ange Postecoglou team. I get that there's some worries about his defensive ability and that a lot of the goals that we've conceded, Longley certainly contributed to. There are plenty of goals I can think of that he didn't cover himself in glory. I look at the one against Miguel Almiron for particular, or Man City, where he didn't look great. And I think against Bournemouth as well, he had some shaky moments, but in my opinion, he proved to be much better than the other center backs this season. He actually proved to also be quite, useful in the air. I think he was at least better than the air than the likes of Dyer, Sanchez, etc. So I just feel like around 5 million euros for what could be a backup center back, not bad for his quality. And I don't think he was nearly as bad as people make him out to be. And I understand he's a very controversial kind of a subject, Longley, because he didn't really, I think, impress people too much. But I still will emphasize, I think he was so much better than what we already had. And if he's going to play backup and he's not going to be on crazy wages, because I don't think we're going to be paying him 200K a week to be sitting on the bench. I think we're going to probably pay him maybe a quarter of that. So if he's willing to sit on the bench and, be a good backup option for, 5 million euros, I think that's actually a bit of a steal, if you ask me.
Yeah, look.
And he's already used to the Premier League. He's played a year under his belt, and he could be even better with a different system.
You may as well just give them to us for free at this point, Jack, if you want me to be brutally honest. 5 million in football terms is like me giving you 5 cents, Jack. Look, and we saved 5 million on the Kulusevski deal, so that would actually pay for the Langley transfer. So, a bit of good business there. And look, I'll be disappointed if Langley was the only centre-back to come in here. However, at 5 million, you have the opportunity to sign him as a squad player and still bring in someone like a TAPSOBA and maybe someone else as well. And that then frees you up to get rid of Dyer, Sanchez, Davies, Tanganga, and Joe Rodon. Get them all gone. You've got Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies taking 200K a week up to 250K a week nearly in wages from this football club, just with them 3 players alone, for the substandard performances we see on the football pitch. And if we really want to move on and we really want to help Ange Postecoglou, and more importantly, we actually want to go beyond the 3rd and 4th round in the cups, we have to ship these guys out, because there is going to come a point in the season, especially in around January with the FA Cup, when the fixtures come in thick and fast, that these guys are going to step in at some stage in the early rounds of cup competitions. And if it's away from home, we get knocked out. Go back and look at all the records of all the away cup competitions where we've got sent home, especially playing away from home. Dyer's been in the back line, Davies and Sanchez. So if we want to give Ange Postecoglou a real opportunity, and we're actually serious at this football club, you bring in Langley, you bring in 2 more centre-backs, and out with the deadwood. That way you're freeing up 250K of wages that you can put elsewhere. So for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. But as long as we bring in others after this guy. But for me, to bring him in as a squad player, it's a no-brainer. Better on the ball than Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies. Also better defensively than Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies. And I know people say he made a few mistakes. Not as much as them guys did.
Not as much as them.
For me, as a backup player, I think perfect.
I just didn't understand. That was the point I was trying to remember. I understand that Longley made a few mistakes, but it felt like some of his mistakes were given even more scrutiny and more attention than the mistakes that Dyer, Sanchez, etc. have made this season. And that's where I did find it to be a bit like, yeah, we can be harsh on Longley, but we can't try to be just as harsh on Longley as we are supposed to be with other players, because I don't think he was nearly as bad. He just wasn't nearly as bad as them, especially if you were to total up some of the mistakes that Hugo has made, Dyer has made. It's just Longley. I don't think he compares really at all. Adrian Schroka says Longley for 5 million is good business. I believe Ringo says 4th choice would be fine. We also have, I believe as well, King Hoddle saying Longley as a squad player is a no-brainer. Great delivery, calm and composed and experienced. Is he a great defender? No, but as a squad player for a low fee, I have no issue. He'll also be defending a whole lot less when he's playing in a much kind of a more possession-based team. And if he has some good protection next to him, I think he'll prove to maybe be a better defender than we think. And also, was he even that bad towards the end of the season? Like when he was playing alongside Romero in the back 4, I don't think he was that bad, except for the Stellini game against Newcastle. Except for the Newcastle game, he wasn't really all that bad, I think, towards the end of the season defensively. I don't remember him making that many mistakes.
And plus, he was a threat from us from our set pieces as well, up at corners and that. And he played some lovely passes and stuff like that. Look, for me, it just makes sense. If we're really serious about shipping out guys that have cost this club time and time again, it makes sense to bring Langley in 4 to 5 million. It's free at this stage practically, and bring in 2 more. However, I think the reason why it's probably rumbled on a bit longer than maybe the Kulusevski deal is because maybe the wages could be a bit of a stumbling block, because I know he was on a colossal wages at Barcelona. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, how this pans out. But I don't get the uproar over this. If it's only him, I can understand that. But if it's him to clear out Deadwood and bring in more, I'm all for this. And I think this is what we should be aiming for. Good on the ball, fits Ange Postecoglou's system. Okay, if he's played in behind on that high line, maybe he might get caught out a couple of times. But I would also think it's worth mentioning that this is a player that came into us off the back of zero confidence whatsoever.
Correct.
Confidence complete and shot. And I do think, over the season, he grew stronger and stronger as the season went on. And I think if we did bring him in, you'd get an even better player again, if you want me to be brutally honest. That's where I'm at with it. I think it is worth maybe keeping in the back of your mind. But look, Jacko, I think we'll keep moving. Actually, I want to take Jazzy Jones' comment here quickly. He says, big up Jazzy Jones, by the way, a new channel member as well. He says, Dave should be an estate agent. He'll convince you to buy a shed for 200K. Okay, you've convinced me, Dave Long. No, do you know what it is, right? I get if you're looking at him as, this is the guy that's coming into place to play beside Romero, right? I get the frustrations and everything else. However, you know me, guys, I like the bigger picture. I like long-term planning. I like future planning. And for me, I love it so much that I've done it for so long to try and plot a way for these guys out of the club. So if we really want to accelerate that process, this is how we do it, in my opinion, Jazzy. But big up Mr. Jones. And then we have Jory. Big up the Jericho. Hopefully you are enjoying the break away from football. Maybe not. Who knows, Jory? But hopefully you are keeping well. Hopefully the family's keeping well. And also, just let me know in the chat, my man. Just put in a comment. Let me know how your son's getting on with the football as well, brother. Big yourself up. He says, we all hope Vicario turns out to be the next goalie GOAT. But the truth is the accounting principles won out over the footy principles. # bargain bin FC. Look, it's hard to disagree with that, Jory, because the reality is
evidence is on his side.
We didn't want to pay the 40 million for Raya. We refused to go anywhere near it, and this guy was cheaper, and that's why he's coming in. It is hard to discredit. However, Jory, what I was saying to Jack earlier on, anyone that watches Italian football and anyone involved in Italian football really rates this guy. But not a lot of people outside Italy actually know about this guy. But apparently, according to reports today, Jory, from Ali Gold, it's one that Paratici and Gabonini, that they scouted and that they sort of inquired towards the end of Paratici's time about the availability of this guy. I question it a little because, when we were told about the shortlist of goalkeepers, we haven't seen this guy linked. We've been linked with Meslier, Kelleher, Bazunu, players like that. We have not seen this guy linked. So it does make me a bit skeptical on that end. But also, I was saying to Jack, when you've got PSG, Man United, Brighton, Juventus, Inter Milan, all interested in the guy as well, why would Spurs put that public knowledge out there if they're trying to get the deal done under the radar, underneath all them clubs' noses? Look, I will say, Jory, it is a gamble. It is a gamble. I'm not going to deny that. This guy has only got 2 years in the top flight in Serie A. Not much of a known quantity outside of Europe. It is a gamble. I do think David Ray is a better shot stopper, but in terms of distribution, I think they're more or less even. I do think this guy is better with the ball actually at his feet, but I do think David Ray is a better shot stopper. And that, for me, that's what makes it a bit of a gamble, Jory.
I think there's a lot of evidence on Jory's side, and that's where a lot of people have to take that into account. As much as I'm a happy clapper and I try to be sort of optimistic that Spurs have the right sort of thinking, there's much more evidence, I think, on Jory's side than there really is on my side in this case. But what I would say, though, Jory, is that if we did end up saving a bit of coin on this goalkeeper and that money goes towards an Edmond TAPSOBA, I'll selfishly say that I'm approved that move because I really want a center back like an Edmond TAPSOBA, and he might cost top dollar to bring somebody like him in, and you might just have to pay whatever the club is asking. If we have to pay 40 million, 50 million, 60 million, Spurs might feel like they benefited then from saving 20 million on the David Raya transfer, because then who knows, that could go more towards the spending power on an Edmond TAPSOBA, players that we really need. And I know, Jory, you feel like that backline needs major upgrades, and that backline, actually, we can't get away with sort of cheap signings for the starting positions in that backline. Whoever we get to partner Romero needs to be top quality and needs to be top class, and we need to spend top dollar in that position. So if that means that we end up saving a bit of money on the David Raya goalkeeping position to fill out with a world-class center back, or maybe future world-class center back, I might sort of tolerate that. But there's more evidence on your side, Jory, so I see where you're coming from, my friend.
And I just hope it doesn't turn out to be another Galini, Jory. Because, look, if we're being brutally honest, if this guy, if he doesn't show that he is a good shot stopper from the ground running, is it really better than Hugo Lloris then? Because, okay, maybe better with the feet, but if he's not going to save the goals...
Yeah, right. It goes both ways.
It's risky, Jerry. It's risky. And I think everyone will agree on that. But he also doubles down. He says, I'm very positive towards all things defensive from Serie A, including goals. I mean, it's hard not to. They've traditionally been known, Jerry, as you know yourself, the masters of defending. It's always been a title that's been given to them. He says, but it's just souring taste that, the lower price tag is a driver in our club. 100%. And look, if the David Raya thing wasn't out there, that public knowledge that we agreed personal terms and stuff, I do think that people might be viewing this Vicario signing maybe a little bit differently. But look, it's obvious. We didn't want to pay 40 million for a goalkeeper. This guy was cheaper. We brought him in. But Jerry, all I would ask, and I've said the same to everybody, regardless of our gripes with the ownership, decisions made and stuff like that, let's give the actual player an opportunity and a chance at Tottenham Hotspur. Let's not write them off before they've got here. And look, I know you're not going to do that anyway, Jerry. I know that. I know you can separate it, my man. But big yourself up, Jerry. Good to see you in the building. You still haven't let me know how your son's been getting on in the football, my man, by the way. But big yourself up. And then we also have Moondog, and he says, good evening, lads. Good evening, Moondog. Hope you are keeping well, sir. He says, I can't wait to hear that Dyer is gone. That will make my season. And Sanchez, in fact, get all the crap out ASAP. Honestly, I've been dreaming about this for the last couple of years, right? And I don't know when they go, I should sit here with a party hat and party poppers. Will I get berated for that being over the top? However, I'll be absolutely delighted to see these guys go because they're useless. They hold this football club back on the pitch. None of them like defending. In fact, they're nervous when it comes to defending. Imagine being nervous at something you're paid to do, and paid to do exceptionally well, by the way. Shit on the ball. Anytime they play in cup competitions, they bottle it, especially away from home. So when you look at the last few years, and a lot of these guys who have played Moondog, away form has been shit. Cup form has been shit. And the league has been made as hard as possible. I argue last season, if we had a better defense, we'd be sitting in Champions League right now, by the way. We would be. But so it's come to the point where so many people have defended these guys. Oh, there's a player in there. Oh, he can do. No more of this. I think everyone's woke up to it, and we all want them gone now. For the betterment of this club on the football pitch, we need these guys gone. Plus, when I seen the wages that these guys are on, it made me even more hot-headed towards these guys to get them out. Being brutally honest, I knew they were on big wages, but I didn't think Dyer was on 80k a week. I didn't think Davies was on 85k a week. And I certainly didn't think we were paying Sanchez 67 grand a week for 20 games over the course of a fucking season. Oh, and to get us knocked out of cup competitions early as well.
Dave, if you had the choice of sort of dream scenarios here, I know you spoke about Laporte being like a center back that you would really want to come to Spurs if that was an opportunity. Maybe I could say like an Ndika or an Gvardiol, but I don't know. Let's just say you get your top choice for center back this summer. What would you prefer? Top choice for center back, or Dyer and Sanchez being moved out the door? What's your dream scenario? What's a bigger dream? What gives you a bigger party hat? What gives you a bigger party hat?
Why can't we have both? Why can't we have the dream?
Which one would you buy a bigger party hat for? They both need to happen.
Honestly,
they both need to happen.
out the door. out the door, because even if you bring in your top centre back, he could get injured a week later. And guess what? Hey, presto, Dyer's back in your starting lineup.
Spot on.
Sanchez back in your starting lineup. And for me, they just hold this club back. And not only that, you got to look at it in terms of leadership. These guys have been here so long. They inevitably have a say. They inevitably the leader of the dressing room. And I mean, their attitude on the pitch stinks. So for me, there's so many bad things about these guys in terms of how much they hold this club back on the football pitch. They have to go. They have to. They can't even stay around as backup, because when they come in, it's going to derail all the good work that everyone else has done before them. And it's traditionally been like that. And look, let's be honest. These guys have had their chances. Yeah. Okay, you look at Dyer and go, okay, maybe he's a backup under Pochettino, whatever. But the reality is he's had a chance in centre mid, centre back, and he's been one of our mainstays at centre back for 4 years. Sanchez has had his chance as well. You know, I think when one of Toby or Jan got injured, he stepped in for a while under Pochettino. Some people would say it was all right. I say it was shit. And then under Jose Mourinho, he tried to give him a chance as well. Doubled down with being shit. Ben Davies, people forget. The reason why he doesn't play left back anymore, which we got a stark reminder with by at the end of the season, by the way, against Aston Villa and Brentford, because he can't deal with the pacey players, the tricky players in the Premier League nowadays. He cannot do it. He gets roasted. He sits too far off them. And in a back four, he cannot play left centre-back. You know, I think when Jose Mourinho actually tried it, we lost to Antwerp 1-0 away from home. Again, backs up my point. So these guys, at all costs, they fucking have to go. They have to. I'd rather bring in two okay defenders if it means getting these guys gone than bringing in my top target and still having these guys around, because these guys will drag that top target down, Jacko.
I think that's a good answer, because that's what you spoke about in the past about why we need 3 to 4 signings. And with 3 to 4 signings for that back line means we need to get these guys out the door, because you can't sign 3 to 4 center backs without getting rid of Sanchez and Dyer and some of these guys. So you're absolutely right, Dave. We could sign a TAPSOBA, but if TAPSOBA were to get injured and Dyer and Sanchez are the backups, we still find ourselves in a very similar situation. I think that's a great answer there. Big up, Moondog. Hopefully you're keeping well tonight, my friend.
Yeah, hopefully you are keeping well, Moondog. You're setting me off, Moondog, but hopefully you're keeping well. Big up, my man. And we've got Dylan88. Good to see you in the house, Dylan. I think this is Australian dollars, Jacko, if I'm correct. He says,
big up, Dylan.
So let me know where you're tuning in from Australia. We've got quite a few people who like to tune in from over there, so let us know, my man. He says, who was the last Italian to do well in the Premier League? Cudicini, Di Canio, Anzola over a decade ago. Scamacca looks like a flop. Anyone else, guys? I mean, look, first of all, Sandro Tonali will come in and put that straight right away if Newcastle get him. I'm absolutely livid over that, because this is a guy that I've been on to Jack about quite some time behind the scenes about I'd love us to get him. Deep lying playmaker, good on the ball, good passing range, this, that, and the other. So I think he will definitely disprove that. Now, let's get on to some Italians.
Jorginho, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Gnonto, I guess, Gnonto only was here for a short while, but he looked like a real talent, to be fair to him. I just had it, but Balotelli, but a mixed bag there. But I guess his best days were kind of in the Prem / AC Milan at one stage. I don't know, maybe, I would go like Balotelli, Jorginho, and maybe Gnonto, but that just sort of speaks to it, right? That it's not as healthy of a list, and especially as recent of a list as maybe other clubs or other nations, should I say, like Portugal, for example, who just seem to be producing all these brilliant players that just sort of can slot into any league across the world right now. And also Italy, as much as they won the Euros, they have been going through what is a bit of a rebuild, regeneration, sort of, transition from kind of an old hierarchy or an old sort of, kind of established core of players to a new, younger, established type of players. And I think they've been having a tough time going with that transition. And some have even said that their sort of talent pool isn't as great as maybe as it once was. But it does look like they're producing maybe some really young, sort of prospects at the moment. It just will be maybe 4 or 5 years till these guys really actually sort of take some real foothold in the game. So you're probably right, Dylan. It is a risk in that.
I think it is a fair point, though.
I think it is.
I think it's a good question, because I'm struggling. I've been racking my brain.
List is not extensive.
Yeah, it's
He's
not.
Right. No. Good point.
Big up, Dylan. Great question.
All I would say lastly, Dylan, is something King Hoddle mentioned earlier, is that Italy do produce some of the best goalkeepers, though, of all time. And it does seem like they have very good, at least trainers for goalkeepers. It feels like even if you aren't Italian, some of the better goalkeepers just get produced out of the Serie A in general. So I do feel like maybe if he's had a good coach, Vicario, then that could be another reason as to maybe why he could be one of the better up-and-coming goalkeepers. They produce a lot of good goalkeepers, that's for sure. Good point.
I will also add that, look, to be fair as well, a lot of their top players traditionally don't leave Italy. If, you know, they just don't. They tend to hang around the top Italian clubs. So, you know, that maybe have something to do with it as well. But also the lifestyle. I know their lifestyle over there, the way they train, eat, etc. You know, I think it's well renowned that they like to have a glass of wine with their lunch and stuff like that, that they're allowed to and stuff. And just the life is completely different to the Premier League. You know, over here, the weather's miserable, etc., etc. So, you know, a lot of them don't want to give up the lifestyle either, my man. But big up Dylan 88. Absolutely fantastic question. Good to see you in the build, my man. Like I said, let me know in the chat whereabouts in Australia you are from. And he says
also have
only,
Catman. Yeah.
only one Jorginho. That's the
Jorginho.
Brazilian.
That's right. He's not even. He wasn't even born in Italy. That's right. He was born in Brazil and switched nationalities. Very good point, actually. Very good point.
Oh, Jack, your mic's gone. Your mic's gone.
So I have one.
It's gone again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can hear you now. Yeah.
Batman Jess, member for 22 months as a Flat Cap member, says, big up Dave and Jack, and hire Dave for an assistant.
Look, I would love to. I think this club needs someone like me as kit man or in there giving, you know, before the game speeches or halftime speeches. Look, they just need me in around the place. I'm a good character. I get them angry. I get them laughing, you know. They just need me in there, you know. When times are good, I'll make times better. And when they need to hear the truth, I'll make sure they hear it and they'll knuckle down. Ange Postecoglou, if you are watching, give me a job, my man. Give me a bloody job. I need it. Kitman is what I should go for. Hashtag vote Dave for Kitman. That's what I say.
Get him in there.
Jack, what job do you think I should get?
I want the Kitman job, so I'd actually prefer you go after a different job, Dave, maybe, because that's the job that I want. I want to become the Kitman.
I'll be Harry Kane's masseur.
Exactly. Donovan Davis, great name, my friend, says, not sure if you guys covered this already, but who's signing is this? Levy's, Postacoglu's, Paratici's, Scott Munn's?
Look, first of all, if that's what he looks like in the picture, he's a very well-groomed man, and I'm quite jealous of that beard, by the way, Donovan. So big yourself up. Please send me some tips. That would be nice. I'm pretty sure there's beard oils in that. But sorry, Jack, I was about to steal your thunder.
I don't know. I feel like we've said it could be a Levy signing because it's a cheaper signing. A lot of the evidence would suggest that in the past. At the same time, though, it's a guy that was brought to the club by Paratici. That's been confirmed by Ellie Gold, that it was sort of somebody that Paratici, as well as Gabbanini, like Dave said earlier, had sort of put on our radar. I'm going to say it's a Paratici-Levy signing. Like, I think it's a bit of a hybrid of the two. I think it's somebody that Paratici maybe brought forward, and then Levy, knowing that he trusts Paratici still to this day, might have just kind of gone with it because he also saw it as a cheaper signing. And then that meant that he could save money and spend it elsewhere, hopefully on somebody like an Edmond TAPSOBA. I actually, if I were to be as unbiased as I can, I do feel like that's what it is. I think it's something where Paratici gave them that target and they saw him as an option B in case they couldn't make any strides with Brentford on the David Raya deal. And now that maybe we've saved around 20 million on this sort of goalkeeper, could give us more of a chance of bringing in a real top quality center back. That's what I hope. That's me speculating after that, but I do feel like it is probably like a Paratici-Levy signing, to give you an answer.
Look, I wouldn't say a Levy signing because I don't think he even knows who this guy is or he's ever heard of him, to be brutally honest, until Paratici put it forward. But look, it's got the imprint of Paratici and Gabbanini written all over it. Now, it's what we need to find out is whether Ange Postecoglou had a say in this one or not. Because we know that Gabbanini has held conversations with Ange Postecoglou over recruitment. So it's just about a matter of of finding out, and I'm sure we'll find out in due course over the next couple of days who's actually identified this guy. But according to reports, it has been Gabbanini and Paratici. Look, the way I think it went down, if you want me to be honest, Donovan Davis, you want me to put my neck on the line, is I think that they originally had planned to go get David Raya. I think they knew with their dealings before with Brentford over Ollie Watkins that it was not going to be easy to negotiate. So I think they basically sat down and said, okay, David Raya is first choice, but if we don't or we can't get him, who next? And then I think this guy was probably put forward and they all agreed on it that way. So I think that's what happened, if you want me to be brutally honest, Donovan Davies. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see. But, you know, like people keep saying, it is the cheaper option. There's no getting away from that. But I would like to think that Ange had some say on it, especially in such a crucial position in goals. And look, let's be honest, you know, Ange doesn't exactly go for the obvious name. Like, Joe Hart going to Celtic, wasn't exactly obvious. Joe Hart's career was probably done at that time, especially with what Nuno said to him. I'm pretty sure he felt like the career was done anyway. But Ange Postecoglou picked him up, made him feel important, and he went on to do really well at Celtic. So, look, I think we'll just have to wait for the next couple of days to see what comes out. But I think that's what happened anyway, Donovan. But
if you have any beard tips, and if you have any grooming tips for us, let us know, Donovan. Feel free to offer us some wisdom for Dave and I.
Let's know what you think, Donovan.
Brandon Troller says, member for 4 months as well, by the way. Brandon Troller out in Jersey, or actually, I forget, Jersey. I believe it's Jersey, unless I got the wrong, or unless you're in New York with me, Brandon. If I've forgotten that and gotten that wrong, I really do apologize. But I know you're close by, my friend. I know you're close by. And he's been a fan show member for 4 months. And he says, fill my tummy up with Vicario's honey. Swindle of a deal. Best in the Serie A last year. Signed Tapsoba, Madison, Longley, and Balotelli, and will be set. Throw a little Balotelli in there, an extra backup striker. That would be fun. Doing Richarlison and Balotelli up front when Harry Kane needs a rest would definitely be good for the entertainment. I'm fine with the Longley deal. We discussed that just now, Brandon. I feel like for 5 million euros, it's actually a real steal, and I feel like he's a lot better than people made him out to be. Madison, I do feel like, is kind of the ideal creative midfielder that sort of fits straight away into this team. I could be tempted by a Pedro Gonçalves like Dave. I could be tempted by an Eberechi Eze as well. I think there are a lot of creative midfielders out there to go for. You don't have to be completely set on Madison if that's not the perfect choice. But Vicario, I'm going to give him a lot of faith, my friend. And I did my best to sort of inform myself and do as much research as I can in the space of this 24-hour period. But it does feel like he's highly rated in the Serie A. He's highly rated in Italy. Just hasn't exactly gotten all that attention maybe outside of Italy.
Look, Brandon, it's definitely Italian night tonight. Let me know what I need to go for. Do I go for the lasagna with garlic bread? Do I go for a tagliatelle? Do I go for another pasta dish, my man? Do let me know. I need to celebrate the Vicario signing in style. Also, might even do a tiramisu on dessert and double up, brother. Let me know what you're having. But look, now that the goalkeeper's out the way, we can move on to centre-back, get that done, and then we can look at maybe a midfielder and a player in the forward areas. But like I keep saying, bring in Lenglet, that 5 million, it's practically free. Bring in 2 alongside that, and we can get more work than what most thought we would on that back line done. So big up Brandon Troller, and hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Hopefully you're gearing up and ready for the new season, my man. I know he will be. But in fact, he's probably running through doors and windows now with excitement. But big up, Brandon. Good to see you in the building, sir. And hopefully we get you on some fan shows soon. Hopefully we see you on there. And anyone else, you want access to them fan shows, especially early access, and not have to wait till midnight at sometimes, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. Grab them channel memberships and get yourself in the queue every single Monday. $4.99 for the month, 4 or 5, if not sometimes 6 fan shows a month. So better, more value than Netflix, Amazon, things like that you pay for. So why not? Why not? And then we have Nick in the house. Says, Dave, all for need medic. Couldn't be worse. I mean, look, I'm not exactly the healthiest of guys, so I think that'll be a bit of a contradiction or an oxymoron, or, I don't think it'd suit me being a medic, Nick. I don't think people take my medical advice too seriously, if you want me to be brutally honest. But what I am good at It's telling home truths and motivating. And I think that's where I need to be, my man.
He's good for the prescriptions. He'll prescribe you some knowledge. He'll prescribe you some truth.
I'll prescribe you some chips. Chips make everything feel 10 times better, especially with a bit of salt and vinegar and pepper on them as well, Nick. You got to have the trio, brother. Big yourself up. But Jacko, I think we are on to the last piece of news for today.
It is Tosin Adarabioyo. Tosin Adarabioyo is one of the options monitored by Tottenham as new center back, as he has decided to leave Fulham. Edmond TAPSOBA is top of the list, as talks will take place in the next few days. I think this is a likely candidate for that homegrown signing that you were alluding to earlier, Dave. Spurs, they do need to bring in homegrown players. As much as we would like to just go after all the best around the world, we have a major shortage of talent in the homegrown department. That has also, I think, mostly to do with the fact that our homegrown recruitment has been terrible. We've tried to bring in good players from the system here in the UK and from the homegrown to fill the homegrown quota, but we've just gotten it wrong. Sessegnon, Jack Clark. Hopefully the Jed Spence signing works out in the future. But you have a lot of guys like Joe Rodon as well, who just haven't really helped us with that homegrown quota. In fact, have made things harder on us. Also, guys like Harry Winks as well from our own academy haven't really been the greatest in sort of, challenging the first team either. We've just sort of really lacked in the homegrown department, either through our own academy or just through our own recruitment. I think most of that had to do with Steve Hitchen. Then again, though, I mean, Paratici didn't exactly bring in too many homegrown players himself, so he didn't really fix that problem for us. So, I mean, Scott Munn, as well as Daniel Levy and whoever is in charge in terms of the recruitment, is going to need to be looking at some of the homegrown center backs as well as other positions in the team, instead of maybe just focusing on guys from the Serie A or the Bundesliga or whatever. We do need some homegrown center backs. Adarabioyo wouldn't be my first choice. I would prefer maybe a Max Kilman. But I don't know. I don't know as much about him, I would say, as maybe other sort of homegrown center backs. Maybe that's because he's sort of not had as many minutes as he would have liked. I'm not too sure, because I feel like it was like, I think it's Diop is his name or someone like that. There's like another center back for Fulham that's like been competing with him alongside. Tim Ream has played the majority of the minutes, but then I think Adarabioyo has been played on the right next to like, I think it's Diop. I think his name is Diop that he's been competing with. And maybe he just doesn't want to be competing with anybody for that spot any longer. So be interesting. I feel like he wouldn't get straight into this team, though. So that's another thing to think about. Like, would he get straight into this Tottenham 11? I don't think he does. So if he's willing to take maybe a backup option, or if he's willing to compete what would be stiff competition for that first team with Romero and potentially a guy like a TAPSOBA. I'm not saying the TAPSOBA one is going to happen, but it looks like we might go after someone of that type of quality. He's going to be competing with some good center backs. And is he good enough to get into the first team? I'm not too sure, but I don't also know too much about him. I actually probably know a bit more about like a guy like a Max Kilman.
Yeah, look, again, I'm not going to sit here and profess I'm an expert on the guy. I'm not. But for you guys, I went out and done a lot of research into this guy. So look, like Jack alluded to, qualifies from homegrown. He actually comes from the Man City Academy. And the reason why he ended up leaving it in the first place is because there was a period a couple of years ago, if anyone remembers, when Man City had a lot of defenders injured. And this guy was on loan at Blackburn at the time, doing very well. And Pep Guardiola overlooked him. So he decided he would leave. And then Fulham ended up buying him and brought him in. Now, the first campaign, despite Fulham getting relegated, Fulham fans were absolutely raving about this guy. Then he also stayed with them, helped them get promoted again, another very good season under his belt. But during that season, Inter Milan, when Skriniar was negotiating with PSG and on his way, Inter Milan were looking at bringing this guy in to replace Milan Skriniar. But then, and because his contract was also coming to an end, but there was an option in his contract to extend it by a further year, and that's what Fulham done. So that's why he has one more year left on his contract. It's up in 2024. Now, Jack, upon research and actually looking into this guy, I actually like a lot of what he's about. Now, he has lost his way at Fulham this season, like you alluded to. I think 13 times he started on the bench for Fulham this season. So he has lost his way a little in that team. But Marco Silva has actually tried to renew this guy's contract. They have been in talks. It's just stalled. And this because this guy here, he's on a quick path to the top. That's what he wants. So I went and watched an interview he gave, and that's what he wants. He wants a quick rise to the top. He believes that's where he should be. And this guy, he's good in the air, very good in the air, very saucy on the ball, Jack. He likes to play. His passes, like, remember that pass that Son gave Romero? Or sorry, Romero gave Son over the top, and Son went out and scored near the end of the season.
He can do something like that.
He does that a lot of times. He has that eye for a pass. But not only that, he's comfortable on the ball, Jack. You put him under pressure, he can dribble with it. He likes to like TAPSOBA. If the space opens up, he'll drive into it. He doesn't need 8 touches to pass it 5 yards sideways. He likes to pass forward. He likes to play penetrating passes. And that is definitely something that Tottenham could look at. And also, when you look at it, look at some of the City Academy players that have gone elsewhere. Bazunu and Lavia to Southampton. A lot of people like them. A lot of people want to pick them up. City do produce good players out of that academy. So for me, look.
Why do you think he's lost his way? Why do you think he's lost his way?
I'm not 100% sure, Jack. I'm not 100% sure. Could it be? Look, he was brought in under Scott Parker, and then sort of
could be that.
You know, but saying that, like, Marco Silva does like him. He does like him. He wouldn't be offering him a new contract if he didn't want to keep him around. And it's not like he missed out through injury either, because he didn't. He very rarely misses a game, to be fair to the guy. Very rarely injured as well. I'm not sure why he lost his way, Jack, because when he came up against Haaland, there was rave reviews of his defending against Haaland. Rave reviews about it. People gave him a lot of credit for it. I'm just not sure. I think it might come down to, you know, personal choice to Marco Silva. I'd probably have to do a bit more digging on that, Jack. But from what I have seen of the guy, I really do like what he's about. And, you know, with 1 year left on his contract, and he doesn't look like he wants to sign, you will get him at a decent fee. However, and I think he suits Ange Postecoglou's team, not only on the ball, but like TAPSOBA, they have the recovery pace to get back. They're not as slow as someone like Lenglet would be. So they really do suit that high line. And I do think that this is an option. Now, I do know there's a journalist called Dean Jones. He has connections at Fulham. And he did say he's not sure where these rumours are coming from, because there has been no contact between Spurs and Fulham about this guy. However, I wouldn't completely write it off, because we do have history of doing stuff with Fulham. Moussa Dembele, Clint Dempsey, Ryan Sessegnon. So we do have history of doing deals with them. So I wouldn't write this one off. But I do think this is one that maybe is lurking around in the back line, in the background, and maybe one they might act on a bit later in the window if need to.
I could see it being something like that. And it's not like we've made a formal approach or anything for it. I guess what Fabrizio Romano is saying here is that we're monitoring him. So he's probably just somebody on our short list that we seem to think is maybe a bit higher up that short list than maybe others. So that's, I guess, what you think of it without a bio. It's more of a watch this space, I guess, sort of kind of a situation. And just keep your head on a swivel when it comes to him. Jason Bell, Dave, has been a member for 21 months. This was from a while ago, by the way. I apologize, Jason. And 21 months as well, my friend. I mean, that is just real service, brother. Thank you very much.
Foot soldier at this time. You're promoting me. You're now a foot soldier, Jason.
I also love his purple and gold scarf, actually. That's hilarious. Around his robot icon. That's a hilarious logo, my man, or profile pic. And he says, I'm all for Dave giving the pregame speech. In the pregame pump-ups, he always makes me think we're going to be winning at 4-0. The players need that sort of confidence. So not medical team, not kit man, hype up man. Could you do it, Dave?
Look, Ange pump up, man. You see Ange on beside him pumping everybody up all the time. Press conferences, in the dressing room, etc. Look, the club needs someone with my passion in and around it. If it's not me, someone else out there with the same passion. But they need someone with my passion in there to really help steer the ship in the right way. Because I could convince them, you know, to be like, look, you know, do it for the fans, the history. You want to be talking about legends, about, you know, the same category as the 60s team, as the 80s team, stuff like that. Go out there and do it. Stop being a loser. You know, you're representing your family, this, that, and the other. Ange would absolutely love me, because Ange uses everything possible to get into the player's psyche, especially the family thing. He'll constantly, you watch at Tottenham, he'll make it a very family-orientated thing. Not only with the players, but he'll make sure the family, the wife, kids, parents, etc., they all come together. It's a very family-orientated thing with Ange. And before team talks and stuff like that, he'll always mention the family. Like, look, those who have, I encourage everybody, go and watch the team talk he gave to the Australian national team. You type it in, it'll be the first one that comes up. Honestly, it will give you an absolute rage on. It was spine tingling. And I've heard myself give speeches like that before. So he needs me, Jason. He needs me. Imagine us two tag teaming it. It'd be disgustingly good.
Brandon Troller here with a super chat says, grab a squid ink pasta with some shrimp and a lemon garlic butter sauce for Vicario. We save the Calcio a Pepe for when we sign Pepe from Porto. I love it, Brandon. I gotta be honest, a squid ink pasta isn't for everybody, but it's damn well one of my favorite pastas out there. I just think it's so good, and it's not really, let's say, the most appetizing looking pasta. It's really like it's really for a certain few, I think, because it's a really deep, dark black color pasta with, some shrimp and, whatever you want in there as well. People put, I think, calamari if they want. You got to really enjoy some fish, I think, Brandon. I think you got to really enjoy the shellfish. You got to really enjoy fish to have that pasta. Luckily, I'm one of those guys, and it's actually something that I order at a lot of different Italian restaurants to really test if they know what they're doing, because I think it's not an easy pasta to make either. It's a very complicated one. So it's one of my favorites. Save the cacio e pepe for later. Absolutely right. Dave, favorite pasta for Brandon? What's your favorite?
Look, I'll be brutally honest. I don't really like anything that comes from the sea. So I'm probably letting you down here, Brandon. Look, mine is a carbonara, chicken and bacon simple. In it, white sauce. Good. Beautiful, lovely. Swirl it up there onto the fork, and just let all the pasta sauce drip into my mouth, and then eat it like it's chocolate. Absolutely love it, my man. Look, Pepe, I've seen a few reports around it, and I haven't seen any of the major outlets report on it, but I've seen a few reports that Tottenham are tracking this guy, Pepe, and so maybe that is one to keep an eye on, Brandon. It is one to keep an eye on, that guy from Porto. But for me, it's all about a good carbonara, my man. A good white sauce on it with chicken and bacon in it. You won't send me wrong, my man. Absolutely love it. Big up, Brandon.
He does. He's got a good palate, I can tell. He knows his food. The regular member for 19 months as well, right underneath, as a Flat Cap member, says, we actually signed a player early. This seems fake.
Look, we done it last year. Let's not forget, we acted very, very quickly in the market last year as well. Now, how some of them signings turned out is a different question. But we did act early last year, and we're acting surprisingly early this year. But a question, is it because it's a needs-must basis? Probably.
I do feel like this is good news, though, to see that such important positions like goalkeeper have been signed nice and early, the regular, because I did not want to see that position dragged on for months. These are positions I feel like we needed to bring in as soon as possible. I'd sooner be happy. I don't want any signing to drag on. In fact, I want all our signings to be done quite early. But if we were to let any of the positions drag on, I'd probably be happier with it being more of the creative midfield position or more of like a winger or something like that. I don't want it to be the case for a center back or for goalkeeper that we're going to let these drag on for months and months or till the, kind of a few weeks before the season begins, because these are some of the most important positions. And the sooner we bring in center backs, the sooner we can ship out the ones that we know aren't good enough.
Spot on. Absolutely spot on. Look, they just got to go. We got to get signings in the door, my man. We do. Big yourself up. We've by the way, you're also promoted to foot soldier as well, the regular. Also promoted, my man. Big yourself up, and hopefully you are keeping well. Look, we just got to get some guys gone. We really want to see improvements across the board, all season long, and to give Ange Postecoglou the best chance, and so that we don't end up in a similar situation to Nuno or Jose or Conte, where a few months down the line we're questioning their future. You've got to give the right upgrades in order for their system to work. So, and look, I'd argue that you've got an even bigger job now to give Ange what he wants to suit his system than what we did for Jose or Conte. Because with Jose and Conte, all we had to do was sign defenders. That was it. Now with Ange, you're probably looking at maybe another midfielder, another wide player. So, they missed the boat beforehand, so now they might have to spend a bit more money. So hopefully get the job done, the regular. Big up, brother. We have Ian. He says, with Paratici out, no, the UF, who is doing all this recruiting and negotiating. I know Gabbianini, he's doing
Gabbianini.
Say it again, Jacko?
Gabbianini.
Sorry, Brandon. My Italian is shocking, man. Gabbianini. Too many N's and I's in there for me. You know, too close together. For
Also, former Italian reject, another Italian reject from an earlier conversation, Gabbiadini at Southampton. So another reject from Italy.
He's basically in charge of the recruiting, the scouting, and stuff like that, and sort of acting in, partially doing some of Paratici's jobs. In terms of negotiations, I would say Scott Munn and Daniel Levy, if you want me to be brutally honest here. But big yourself up. Really appreciate support. Donovan Davies says, grab TAPSOBA and tossing, get it done, and be set. I mean, that's what that would be showing ambition. And Langley, yeah. You missed Langley off there, Donovan. I'm not sure I've convinced you on Langley yet, but you know, tune in for a lot more, and I'll have that done within a week or so. But look, TAPSOBA, I really like. Look, Jack loves him. Jack absolutely loves him, so I let him talk on him. But when it comes to Tosin Adarabioyo, there is a player there with a lot of potential, and it's just waiting for someone to unlock that. And I do think Ange Postecoglou could be that guy. You know, he's homegrown. England are probably looking for centre-backs, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does get a move out of there to see him in an England team a couple of years down the line. Now, I have seen him sort of being, what would you say, someone has said like he's a poor man's Tomori, someone like that. I don't buy it whatsoever. But it is worth noting that his first season with Fulham, he had better stats in tackles, interceptions, and passing than Virgil van Dijk, who was being praised at the time. So, you know, that's worth noting on Tosin.
Yeah.
Like I said, is a bit of a gamble, but he's better than what we've got. Way better on the ball than what we've currently got there. So I do think that would be an improvement. Let's be honest. 5 stone heavier than what I should be me is an improvement on Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies. So, but Jack, TAPSOBA, you agree with Donovan? Get it done.
Yeah, everybody has those players that I think they've been watching for a long time that they know will be one of the next up-and-coming big players. And I know for a fact I see Lazy 8 in the house. He, of course, was on the Matoma train almost before anybody. Yeah. I myself was a big fan of Bruno Guimaraes. I felt like before he really got a lot of attention. And I felt kind of the same way with Edmond TAPSOBA here. I feel like I've been talking about him since the days of Peter Bosch over at Bayer Leverkusen. I think there's been 3 or 4 different managers basically since Peter Bosch has been there. So that's what I kind of mean. That's how long ago it's been, you know, since TAPSOBA has been on my radar. So I would think this is probably one of my biggest dream signings of all time, maybe even more than the Bruno Guimaraes one would have been. I really love this guy, and I do feel like he is that just talented and just one of the best center backs, I think, up and coming in his position, in his age group. And when I think about it now more than ever, I wanted him under the Conte system, but I did feel like, is he ready to make a step up into an Antonio Conte side? I think this Ange Postecoglou system is going to suit him perfectly because it's more possession based. It's also kind of, you know, maybe going to suit his one-on-one defending when he has to stop counterattacks. And as well, he's going to be alongside a guy in a back 4 like Romero, who I think sort of offers something slightly different to him. Romero is probably a bit more aggressive, and TAPSOBA is kind of a bit sort of cool, calm, and collected, very intelligent type of center back. So I just think they'll make a really good pair, and also both really young. This could be, and not saying it's happened yet, and probably might not even happen, who knows, but it could be like the next Toby, Jan Vertonghen type pairing, I think, for a long time, if it does happen.
Yeah. Big up, Donovan. Still waiting on them beard secrets. What beard oil, what comb, what number, you know, is it a 2, is it a 3? You know, you need to let me know, Donovan. I'm sitting here jealous, my man. Big yourself up, though, brother, and really do appreciate the support. We have Wolf Maulus as Virgil van Dijk that you captain all season, Dave. Yeah, look, fantasy football. Do you know what it is? I picked my team and I haven't changed it once since. But, you know, I'm going to check the league, see where I am.
Next year's your year.
He says, this is why we need to get Barnes and Maddison homegrown. 100%. Look, whether we like it or not, we will have to look at homegrown. But what I will say is, let's not write off the academy players yet. There could be 1 or 2 that could be drafted in around the first team that we use to meet that homegrown quota. Alfie Dorrington, you know, very similar attributes to Adarabioyo. Yeah. Very, very similar attributes in terms of on the ball and stuff like that. Similar frame and all that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't write him off. Charlie Sayers, you know, can play left back and centre back. Harvey White, he's coming back from loan, can play left back and centre midfield. You know, Alfie Devine, very highly talented, signed a new contract. just waiting for someone to unlock the door. Hasn't worked out under the likes of Jose and Conte because they don't know what to do with young attacking talent like that. But Ange Postecoglou does. So I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe one or two youngsters maybe help make up that homegrown quota. I would not write that off. But I agree with you, Dark Sun G. We have some of the worst English players I've ever seen in my lifetime. And they do have to go, and we do have to improve on that. And that will cost you a pretty penny because English players come at a premium because every club knows the reason why they're signing them in the first place. And not just because of their ability, but because it helps with the homegrown registration for the squad. So it does come with a premium. Look, Barnes, I'm not sold on.
I don't think he's good enough replacement for Sonny, personally, Dark Sun G. I don't think, like Dave said this before, that Barnes is more of a goal scorer, but he doesn't have the elite goal scoring ability like Sonny does. Like Barnes is a good goal scorer, but he's not as good of a goal scorer as I think Sonny has ever been. And also, when you look at what we really need is a guy that can offer something maybe slightly different to what Sonny does. I don't think Harvey Barnes offers really anything different to what Sonny does. I think he's kind of just a worse version of Sonny and kind of has similar characteristics, but just worse. And maybe what we want is more of a creative type winger instead of somebody that's just so, just closely related to somebody like a Sonny. I think we want someone actually maybe different to Sonny instead. And I'm not sure Harvey Barnes is that guy, actually. Yeah.
Madison, look, I heard he's a Gunner fan. Not too happy about that. Some of the celebrations against us, bit too passionate for my liking. Look, I like Madison. Look, he's a good player, right? He unlocks the door, this, that, and the other. Let's wait and see what happens on Madison. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not convinced we're going to pay the 50-odd million to get him out of there, if you want me to be brutally honest, because apparently there was reports as far back as May saying that we were in discussions with his camp, this, that, and the other. Look, I do think Newcastle bringing in Tonali could potentially pave the way for us to go and get someone like Madison, because I can't see them spending on Tonali and spending another massive fee on someone like Madison as well. I think somewhere along the line, financial fair play. But look, it'd be interesting. Let's wait and see what happens with Madison. He's one of them. A lot of people will be excited. I wouldn't be angry, but I'd be cautious maybe about does he want to be here. But look, we'll wait and see, Dax on G. Harvey Barnes, I'm not sold on, to be brutally honest. Not sold on it. Nowhere near it.
Big up, Dark Sun G. And I just don't think he's good enough to fill Sonny's boots. That's what I would say with Harvey Barnes. Nowhere
near the levels of Sonny. Nowhere near it. I think, look, he
while still being too similar, though. Like he might not be near his levels, but if he was really different, then maybe you might tolerate it. But the fact that he's nowhere near his levels and is a similar type player is, kind of just doesn't work for me personally.
No, 100%. Like he is very similar to Sonny. Like he benefits from balls being played in him. He's a finisher. Sonny has more about him, to be fair to Sonny. And like you said, Jack, if you were to bring him in, if you're going to have a replacement for Sonny or someone to come on off the bench to change the game, ideally you want something a little bit different to what we've currently got in there. And I'm not sure Barnes gives us that. With Madison, look, Dark Sun G, we do need someone in that position. Someone that can play camp, someone that can unlock the door and stuff like that. I just want Pedro Gonçalves. If you want me to be brutally honest, that's why I don't want Madison. I want Pedro. I just want Pedro in here. I really like what Pedro Gonçalves is about. Left foot, right foot, doesn't matter. Great passing range, good shot. Brilliant. Good mental attitude as well, and that's what I want. Madison, look, good player, but I would prefer Pedro Gonçalves. But we do need homegrown players in here, so let's wait and see. People are saying, come on, Dave, you're being too mean again. I know. I've had a good show up until the last 2 minutes, until Dark Sun G brought up Madison. I do apologise. But look, I can't help it, I think Madison's he's a good player. I won't be angry, but I would prefer Pedro. I'll just be honest about it. But look, Jack, anything else you want to say, or is that it? Or should I just check
other news
Twitter?
is keep an eye on Lo Celso potentially leaving and going to Barcelona. It looks like Xavi is a big fan of his because Messi obviously has such great things to say about Lo Celso, despite Lo Celso never doing anything for Spurs. Yeah, Xavi could be potentially going after Lo Celso, so keep an eye on that, but maybe not worth mentioning more than that until maybe some more concrete news comes about.
Swap deal with Langley. Let's get it done. Absolutely love it. But guys, that is it from your boys Dave and Jack. 2 videos for you to check out if you just can't get enough of our sexy faces. You've got the interesting one actually on the academy system. So Paratici, before he resigned, he changed the structure of the payment system in the academy setup, which basically meant, let me start again. He changed the system of the payment structure in the academy compared to John McDermott's, where John McDermott's was, you keep them young, hungry in their development and not incentivize them financially as teenagers. Whereas Paratici's was, well, if you want to get up to date with modern scouting, modern academies, and you want to have some of the best players in your academy, you've got to play a little bit of a premium compared to others. So we had a very interesting discussion on it. Make sure you check that out. And then also, Jacko's scout report on Vicario. You want to know more on Vicario, you don't need to go anywhere. Jack already has your scout report up before the deal even happened. That's how quick he is. He's like Flash Jack. Love it. So look, we're going to end it off there, guys. We'll see you all back here tomorrow. We will have something to upload or something to talk about, no doubt. So we'll all see you back then. Go and enjoy your evenings. And as always, come on, you Spurs. In hands we trust.
In the big Ange we trust. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all the support today. Thanks for everybody in the comments. Hit the like button if you haven't on the way out as well. We hope to see you tomorrow as well, maybe with a live show if there's some breaking news. If not, there will definitely be something put out there. But really do appreciate also all the support today with everybody just putting in their comments as well as giving to the channel as well. Thank you.
Exactly. How rude of me, Jacko. Thank you, everybody, for your support. It really does mean a lot. Like, it'd be so disheartening if no one was supporting with us or engaging with us. So it does mean a lot, guys. But seriously, I need a shower. I'm sweating like a pig right now. And I do need to go and get a shower because it's so warm. But guys, come on, you Spurs. In the big Ange. No, sorry, in the mighty Ange, we trust.
See you, everybody.
Everywhere we go.